Of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network. Go.com.
From the worldwide leader in sports, this is an ESPN News special presentation of the NFL Draft. Years of the NFL Draft on ESPN. The quarterbacks have often moved to the head of the class, but rarely has there been a class like this one. They're young, mobile, and rocket armed, ready to take dead aim at the upper half of the first round, where all five are sure to be snagged. Can the class of 99 be the class of 83 with Dan Marino, with Jim Kelly, and with John Elway? Here comes QB 99, the next generation.
Down set, throws for the end zone. Touchdown, Kentucky! I don't believe what I just saw!
He's off the races. It's the Syracuse touchdown! Donovan McNabb!
Dante drops, looks, now rolls out. He 3 to the 10, to the 5, the touchdown, Culpepper!
McNabb is going to run it at the 5, dives into the end zone. Absolutely unbelievable!
And now he's going to throw to the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown. What a play by Keely Smith. And what a beautiful pass. Quarterback, the greatest names in the game, playing the toughest position in all of sports. When the doors open to the 21st century, will the last draft of the 20th century forever make its mark? They have gathered in the Big Apple, the biggest of the players, all the NFL teams and fans of all 31. To join us here at the theater. And the quarterbacks, 5 of them, may go before halfway through the first round. We've never had that before. And the running back, after the QBs, the other issue, Ricky Williams, the 6,000-yard Heisman Trophy winner. Where does he go? We'll find that out here today and tomorrow as ESPN begins our coverage of the 64th annual selection meeting, which in English is known as the NFL Draft. Hi, I'm Chris Berman. We are here in New York, we are in Bristol, and we are everywhere. We will be able to go to 8 different NFL cities during the course of the draft. It sounds like a Chuck Berry song. They're really rocking in Cleveland, and Miami FLA, in New England, and Indianapolis, a hot spot. New England wants to trade, and Seattle for the beginning of the Mike Holmgren era. Minnesota. New Orleans, will Mike Ditka pull the biggest of all draft day deals, and the Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos? We will video conference with just about everywhere else in the NFL. Basically, if you have a Rand McNally Atlas in the United States, we have got you covered for this draft. And not only do we have you covered on our coverage today and tomorrow, 17 hours worth, you can keep up on ESPN News, ESPN.com if you have the skills, and ESPN Radio. Welcome here to New York, where the Cleveland Browns are on the clock. We had some drama last night, and that their man, Tim Couch, quarterback Kentucky, could they get a deal done? In the wee hours of the morning, there was a breakthrough, and in a few moments, we expect to hear Tim Couch, #1 pick. But it wasn't that simple. Let's go out to an excited Cleveland Browns headquarters and join our Sal Palantonio. Not a lot of sleep there last night, Sal.
Well, Chris, what happened was that Tom Condon, the chief negotiator for IMG, who represents Tim Couch, got wind that the chief negotiator for the Browns, Lal Hennigan, was talking to Achilles Smith's agent, Lee Steinberg. This was about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock last night when Condon was out having dinner with Tim Couch. So he rushed over to Hennigan's room in the same hotel, the Millennium downtown there, and he got there at about 11:30. I actually called up Hennigan's room to find out what was going on with the negotiations, and Tom Condon answered the telephone. And so it was pretty heavy negotiation until about 4 hours, until about 3 in the morning, but they finally reached an agreement in principle on a 7-year deal worth $48 million. There's a $12.25 million signing bonus up front. It's the highest to any rookie in NFL history. With incentives, the deal could reach $59.4 million. It's a big deal for Tim Couch. It's a big deal for the city of Cleveland. The #1 pick of the new Cleveland Browns will be Kentucky quarterback Tim Couch, Chris.
Well, Sal, out of deference to the owner, Al Lerner, who is here in New York for this historic day, this historic pick, they may have got the deal done at 3, but they didn't want to wake him up till about 7 or 7:30 to get the okay. So, you know, when you own the team, you get to sleep through the night a little bit. But it is done, and Tim Couch is here in New York. So is Ricky Williams, and we expect quarterbacks to go 1, Donovan McNabb, 2 to Philadelphia, probably Achilles Smith 3 to Cincinnati. Then the fun may begin at the 4 spot. Indianapolis traded Marshall Faulk a couple of days ago to the St. Louis Rams. Who will run the ball? Is it Ricky Williams? Is it someone else? Do they do something else with their number 4 pick? Very interesting indeed. Sean Salisbury is at Colts headquarters in Indianapolis. What's the latest there, Sean?
Chris, there's a lot going on. First and foremost, with the trade of Marshall Faulk to the St. Louis Rams, everybody assumed that paved the way to get the obvious pick would be Ricky Williams, running back from Texas. But don't be so sure about that. This football team, when you talk about Marshall Faulk, said it would have been a distraction in training camp because he was going to hold out guaranteed because all the money he wanted. So they had to look elsewhere. When you talk about the players that are out there for them, you go into a meeting room and it's all about emotion in this draft. You talk to Polian, you talk to Jim Mora, you mention the players and they kind of go through the pluses and minuses. You talk about Georgia cornerback Champ Bailey and they go crazy. They are in love with this kid. You'd think that it was their child. And remember, Bill Polian and Jim Mora both have built defenses wherever they've been. Don't be surprised if that Georgia corner's right here in Indianapolis today. Let's go out to Ed Werder in New Orleans.
Well, Sean, as you know, the Saints have no real reason to trust that the Colts are going to pass on Ricky Williams at 4 to take Champ Bailey. Now, Mike Ditka tells me that he's got a tentative agreement in place, if that does happen, to go ahead and make a trade with Washington for the 12th pick for the 5th spot, move up, get Ricky Williams there. But they're not content with that. They're still exploring possibilities of moving in front of the Colts. They've talked to Cincinnati this morning. Cincinnati's, as Mike Ditka put it, their request was outrageous. They want all of the Saints' top picks this year, plus their first rounder through the year 2002. Chris, Mike Ditka says he's not willing to pay that.
Well, Mike is ready still, Ed, to make a deal that we have never really had on draft day. But it will all unravel here in the next 17 hours, 10 hours today, 7 hours tomorrow. Mel, your top 5 picks, if everything was equal, you would go running back, wouldn't you?
I would. Ricky Williams, I think, is going to be a franchise back. Chris Edgerrin James on his heels. Chris Claiborne can play middle linebacker or on the outside. And Champ Bailey, we know about that tremendous versatility he'll provide an offense and a defense.
You know, I didn't give you the proper drum roll. Mel Kiper, Joe Theismann working with me, as always, in a cast of thousands. The commissioner will open it.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the National Football League's 64th annual college player draft. We want to thank all of you fans here for being with us in New York, and we also want to thank the millions of fans around the country who are watching ESPN's 20th telecast of the NFL Draft. Today, the first selection choice belongs to the Cleveland Browns, who are now on the clock.
Well, the crowd is certainly revved up here now. Joe Theismann, you've scattered all these quarterbacks. Tim Couch, Achilles Smith, even the other ones, McNown, Culpepper, and Donovan McNabb. You making the pick, where do you go?
Well, first of all, Chris, let me just say this. Every one of the quarterbacks has something that they're going to need to work on as they get ready to play in the National Football League. Tim Couch, as you look at his statistics, has an advantage because he's played a lot more football than Achilles Smith. Achilles Smith probably a lot more natural athlete. And the quarterback position now has become one where they're looking for a lot more athletes. But I got to be honest with you, if I was going to take one, I would probably have taken Cade McNown from UCLA, only because I think his technical skills are the best of any quarterback in this particular draft.
Mel, that's because he likes the short quarterback, see?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't buy that. I think you would trade down if you were interested in Cade.
No, I wouldn't.
Not take him at the
We're
top.
going to start this already.
Joe. Yes, we will.
We just started this thing here.
Well, it's early, but we'll start. Tim Couch, I think an outstanding quarterback prospect. Talk about the run and shoot. He adjusted to Hal Mumme when he got there. He had been throwing the football tremendously well in high school, whipping it around the field. Then he went to a run and shoot type attack, two-step drop, get the ball off quickly. You see the ball placement up around the ear. He's already dropped that during that second workout with Chris Palmer. So he's already made the necessary adjustments. Talked to Tim yesterday. He is putting the ball accurately with more velocity than he had since his high school days. 36 points per game on the hardwood in high school. He really utilizes that ability in terms of accuracy on the football field. And I look at Tim Couch, 6'4", 225, tremendous escape ability. Watch him escape here, Vision down the field, accurately deliver the football. I think that's what's underrated about Couch is this athleticism that he brings to the quarterback position, as well as the enthusiasm. He's kind of mild-mannered off the field, low-key. When he puts the pads on, he turns up the intensity dial. Watch him here throw across his body to Craig Yeast in the end zone. Here, whip a strike in the end zone for a touchdown to Yeast again. Watch him throw across his body here against Penn State for the touchdown. Questionable arm strength. Think again. Tim Couch now feels like he is throwing the ball and is more comfortable than he's ever been. Look at that completion percentage. That's where the accuracy comes in. And he did this, Chris, against SEC competition, against some of the best athletes in the country. Tim Couch, to me, has a chance to be a superlative NFL quarterback.
Well, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions last year, 72% you mentioned, almost 4,300 yards. Joe, there was a little question on the way he throws, but when you look at these guys over and over, are we being nitpickers?
Yeah, we certainly are, Chris. And if I'm going to spend $27 million on somebody, I'm going to nitpick I'm going to nitpick by nitpicking. You have to look at him very closely. The reason I looked at Tim Couch as close as I did is I was uncomfortable with his grip. He has his index finger up real high on the ball. That causes him to palm the ball a little bit more and not really get the pop on it. When you look at the release, you look at the revolutions, the ball just looks like it just hangs in the air with a little bit of a wobble. And then here, you can count the revolutions when he releases the ball into the flat. This is a total of 5 revolutions, and the ball travels some 20 yards. That is not efficient nor sufficient enough to be able to go out and throw the ball well. Had a chance to sit with him last night. He's changed his grip. The picture on your right screen shows what he used to do where he didn't use the laces. And now you see him move his fingers back a little bit so that his pinky is on the laces. He's able to get more revolutions on the ball, therefore making it a tighter spiral and a harder throw.
He's talking about 5 revolutions. I got American, French, and Russian. What are the other 2 revolutions?
The other 2, I'm going to come up with the other 2.
All right. Well, we delve through the history books. There are some hot spots, certainly below where the quarterbacks are being selected, maybe as early as the 3rd pick, Cincinnati. Hot spots, hot buttons. Who better to discuss it? Mike Tirico, Chris Mortensen. Fellas?
All right, Chris, thank you. If more decisions are made at 1 and 2, is Cincinnati fielding offers, and what are they thinking about trading the number 3 pick? We heard Ed talk about.
Well, as Ed Werder mentioned, yes, Cincinnati is talked with the New Orleans Saints, but they have also made an outrageous demand of the Saints. And here's what's going to happen. Right now, they are pretty much sold on their number 1 quarterback, Akili Smith. They will listen to New Orleans one last time if the Saints want to call when they're on the clock. I think they're taking Akili Smith.
If that's a tepid spot, then we've got the really hot spots where people are talking deal. Sean alluded to it at number 4.
Well, Ricky Williams right now holds the key, at least to the drama, I think, in this draft, and that is whether the Colts take him or not, and whether the Saints deal with Washington Redskins. Then it becomes really fluid at 6 with St. Louis and Chicago, and a couple other trades to talk about here. Quarterback deals. The Ravens have got a deal in the works for Tony Banks from St. Louis. Then the Ravens will do Eric Zaire to Tampa Bay. Oh, this concerns Dante Culpepper.
Sure.
And all those things. Oakland tried to trade up to get Dante Culpepper.
The headline story, though, from 4 to 11 could be deals done.
That's right. We got some fun there.
Hot spots to watch for sure. Boom.
All right, guys. Well, we could have the 5 quarterbacks as early as the 10 spot, 11, or certainly by 15. That has never happened before in the history of the NFL draft. History-making day. We'll be back.
The new Acura RL has distinctive styling to appeal to your elegant side. A performance-tuned suspension to satisfy your assertive side. And a sophisticated front and side airbag system to protect both sides. The new RL from Acura.
This is great. I get fired on national TV.
Oh, that could be worse.
How could it possibly be worse, Frank?
I think it just got worse.
And now, Budweiser's replacement for Louis the Lizard,
No.
the Ferret.
This is not going to be good for my blood pressure.
He's good.
Don't encourage him, Frank.
Hi, I'm Troy Aikman of the Dallas Cowboys. The NFL and the United Way this season are celebrating 25 years of working together to help our neighbors in need. Over the years, hundreds of NFL owners, coaches, and players have volunteered their time to work with United Way agencies and programs that show our caring for people in need. By working together, the NFL and the United Way are making a difference. The NFL, the United Way and you, the power of teamwork.
The Cleveland Browns, great history, and history resumed here in 1999. The Browns are on the clock, and there is the look inside the war room. Carmen Policy, the dapperly dressed Carmen Policy, would expect nothing less. The Vice President, GM, and former hero in San Francisco, now hopefully hero in Cleveland, Dwight Clark, is in there in the Browns. Of course, not a lot of suspense, but they have 13 picks throughout the day. We will go there early and often. Will this class of 99 be similar to the class of 1983, in which John Elway was drafted, you forget, by Baltimore, but of course, by the end of the day, he was traded, and the rest was history. Todd Blackledge by the Chiefs was the next pick that year. Look at the youngster, Jim Kelly by the Bills, but he was playing the USFL. Tony Eason led the Patriots to a Super Bowl. Ken O'Brien had a good career with the Jets, and some guy named Marino, the sixth quarterback taken in 1983. He's had a decent career with the Miami Dolphins. Elway, Marino, and maybe Jimbo, Hall of Famers from that draft. So the question, does this draft in 1999 compare to that draft in 1983? You can only grade on the way they came out. How does it shape up at this time, though?
Numbers-wise, it compares. I think mobility-wise, this group in 1999 has the edge. I think pure passing ability coming from pro-style attack, the 83 class had the edge. And how much that will translate into these quarterbacks needing some time to develop, we'll have to find out. And, Joe, I think that's the big question. Will this group be able to come in? They're force-fed now in the NFL. How quickly will these quarterbacks have an impact in the NFL?
I don't care about the 83 class. What about the 71 class? When you had Plunkett, you had Manning, you had Pastorini. Oh, by the way, they went 1, 2, 3 in the draft. There also happened to be a fourth-round pick by the name of Theismann that played in that particular class. Not that I'm prejudiced about it one bit. But I do think that, as Mel alluded to it, that the biggest difference in this group of young men coming out is the thing that you have to stress and look at is their athletic ability. Every one of them has exceptional athletic ability, and they have to play against the defenses today in the National Football League. Everybody wants the quarterback to be able to move around, slide in a pocket, make plays. Every one of these quarterbacks has that ability, but every one of them has a lot of things that they have to work on before they can get to the level where you can call them bona fide stars in the National Football League.
The guy that was drafted in 71 was Theismann, wasn't it?
That's right. It was Theismann, actually.
Yeah, but it was still a debate. I think it was Theismann. Boy, Mike, Jim Kelly was a young pup once upon a time. That was an interesting picture, wasn't it?
It certainly was. He has 101 wins in the class of 83's total. Class of 83, by the way, 160 games over 500 as NFL starters. Is this class better? What's the biggest difference?
I think the biggest difference is the athletic ability of these quarterbacks. I mean, you look at all the Dante Culpepper, runs a 4.6, 4.5, I mean, 250 pounds. They have the mobility to make the play on the run. The class of 83, more of a pocket-style passers. Dan Marino, John Elway, yes, he could get around. Myself, pretty much like to stay in the pocket, but that's the biggest difference, probably the athletic ability and them being able to make things happen on the run.
Project for me as we look at the production of this class. Will they be better than you guys when it all said and done? They put up great numbers in their college days, just like you guys did, but look at these pro numbers you guys put up.
You can't compare that. 484 wins amongst us. Maybe 6-7 years from now, maybe you'll be able to say something about that. But 11 Super Bowls, 484 wins.
Only Kenny with 50 and 59 record was the only one of that group under 500 for his career. More from Jim and Boomer Esiason later on. Now back to Boomer Berman.
That's quite a class that's made its mark on the NFL for 2 decades. And now let's go up to the commissioner for the
first pick
the new Cleveland
in the 1999 draft. The Cleveland Browns selection is from the University of Kentucky, quarterback Tim Couch.
This is a young man from a town of 350, Hyden, Kentucky, coal mining town in southeastern Kentucky. The nearest movie theater is 25 miles away. The nearby towns, his dad, Albert, is from Thousand Sticks, Kentucky. Hell for Certain, Kentucky is right down the road. Hazard, Kentucky is right down the road. And from that small town, Tim Couch has proven himself at the University of Kentucky, He's made everyone in the community and the state proud, and now he is the first player selected ever by the Cleveland Browns. It's a wild ride, but you know, I think he has his feet on the ground. We spoke with him a little bit last night. And by the way, welcome back to the NFL, Cleveland Browns. We did miss you very much so. It'll be good to see the new dog pound again. Tim Couch in Cleveland. And they have Ty Detmer there, so the pressure is not for him to play right away, guys.
No, it's not. And I think, and Joe, we can get to how quickly he'll be ready. But I look at Tim Couch, and it gets back to Achilles Smith just about 2-3 weeks ago, moving ahead of Tim Couch after that first workout. Chris Palmer challenging Tim Couch. During that second workout last Sunday, Tim Couch responded, showed Chris Palmer exactly what he wanted to see. They altered the delivery, they altered the grip, and Tim Couch went out, Joe, and had an outstanding workout. And that showed Chris Palmer that he had the kind of quarterback he wants to go to war with, not for this next year or the year after, but for about 10 years.
Keep in mind, he is a junior coming out, so that means he's going to grow, he's going to mature. I think probably one of the things that impressed Chris Palmer as much as anything, when he did change his grip, it made a difference in the way he threw the football. It made a difference for Tim Couch on how he felt like he could throw the football. Just making minor adjustments to a quarterback and getting results is something very positive for a coach to look at.
The young man from Hyden, Kentucky, selected by the Cleveland Browns. We have a series of pieces throughout the draft that we know as In the Crosshairs. Let's get to know Tim Couch.
I'm Tim Couch, University of Kentucky. You know, it was kind of like Mayberry on the Andy Griffith Show. You know, everybody knew everybody. We got, you know, one cop, one stoplight, a couple restaurants, and, you know, it's just your typical small town. The big advantage for me was I didn't have anything to do all day long but throw a football. I just wanted to go somewhere that, you know, kind of a road less traveled that a lot of people didn't take, and, you know, all the top recruits were going to these big name schools and stuff, and I just said, you know, hey, I'm going to do something different for a change. Fortunate for me, they brought in Coach Mummy. He brings in this system that, you know, is perfect for me. I got receivers around me. I got a big offensive line protecting me, and things just fell into place for me.
I don't believe what I just saw!
Having dinner with Joe Montana was, you know, really unbelievable. That was, you know, my childhood hero. You know, a guy, you know, you sit there and eat dinner with him, and all these plays he made are, you know, flashing through my mind. You know, the catch, the slant he threw against the Bengals to win the Super Bowl. All those plays are going through your mind when you first meet him. I watched the guys like Montana and Marino and Elway and those guys growing up. It, you know, really just made you dream a lot as a little kid and something to work for. I just got to go learn a new offense. You know, once I get that offense in, you know, in my mind where it becomes second nature like the offense at Kentucky was, where I'm not out there thinking through things. I'm just, you know, bam, 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 making my reads, progressions. I think, you know, I'm going to adjust fine, and I think I got the, you know, the talent's just going to naturally come through.
Well, Tim Couch stays in the Midwest. You have to drive through Daniel Boone National Forest to get to Hyden, Kentucky, which also, this is interesting, was the site of the first post-resignation speech by Richard Nixon. I'm not sure why it was there, but for Tim Couch today, to borrow from Nixon, he is the president, at least in Cleveland. The Philadelphia Eagles with their fans, who are many here. Is it Donovan McNabb? We sure think so. We'll talk about who's coming up in New York in a moment.
I'm on ESPN Insider. For me, it's like the inside connection. You know, one of my big interests is baseball. You know, because I played baseball when I was in high school. Played JV. I was a senior on the JV. But, you know, my coach said that for the program, that's where I was going to be best used, and I'm a team player. And, you know, at the end of the year, I had a cup of coffee with the varsity.
I've won my share of races, but I didn't do it alone. It takes a great team. And Slick 50 is a part of my team. I'm one of the millions of people who rely on it.
Now there's Slick 50 Synchron synthetic engine treatment with a 100,000-mile limited warranty and pour-and-drive convenience.
It's hard to beat Slick 50. I count on that.
Slick 50 Synchron Synthetic, the next generation of engine treatments.
And for peak performance, use Slick 50 Synchron synthetic fuel system treatment.
Getting the opportunity to be in Jerry Maguire, that was a real thrill. Quite a few of us auditioned for parts.
Show me the money! Show me the money.
Show me the money!
You complete me. You complete me.
Help me help you.
Who's coming with me?
Who's coming with me? Let's go.
Who's coming with me?
there were a couple of performances that really surprised them.
You had me at hello. You had me at hello.
We are back in New York. Now, the Jets don't draft till late in the second round, but there's a team of green here in full force. Those are the Eagles fans who are making their last pitch for the Eagles to draft Ricky Williams and not quarterback Donovan McNabb. More on that in a moment, but Cleveland has made their pick. Let's go out now to Sal Paolantonio with the president, Carmen Policy. Sal?
Well, that's right. I'm with one of your good friends, Carmen Policy. And Carmen, it was a long, arduous process to pick the right guy. Why did you go with Tim Couch?
Well, we loved everything we learned about him. And when you talk about what he can do on the field, I think all of your listeners and viewers have been exposed through ESPN coverage as to how qualified and how talented he is. But off the field, he displayed so much character and poise, and he's such a solid human being. And when we saw how coachable he was, especially during that workout in Lexington, Kentucky, at the University of Kentucky, I mean, all of us got blown away by that, and I think that's what really pushed Chris Palmer over the line.
You took great pains to get him to come to an agreement before you decided to put in the selection. Why was that important to you?
It's important because we needed our leader on the field committed to the Browns the moment he became a Brown. We could not tolerate, even for 20 seconds, any kind of an interruption or disruption of his focus, and God forbid that there would even be a one-day holdout. We needed this commitment to this organization to send a message to everyone else who's going to be part of this team.
Thanks a lot, Carmen. Looks like they've got their guy, Tim Couch, the Kentucky quarterback, the new pick of the Cleveland Browns. Chris?
And there's the official reaction a few moments ago by the Cleveland Browns and Coach Chris Palmer. There's Carmen right there, so you can uncork the wine. Carmen, who knows his way around a wine list, certainly at the end of this draft will have 13 picks, but he knows now number one, Tim Couch. So, now on the clock, the Philadelphia Eagles and their new regime, quarterback guru, late of the staff of Mike Holmgren, Andy Reid. Eagles in the 90s started out fine. Randall Cunningham, they were contenders, of course, at least, playoff team a couple of times. Never quite got over the hump to get going in the playoffs. Remember, the Fog Bowl was one of them. Then Rodney Peete and Ty Detmer, who's now at Cleveland. Last year, Bobby Hoying, and they tried Jim McMahon. Basically, they're a team in search of an offense, because their offense last year for a 3-13 team was anemic. However, Andy Reid and Tom Modrak, it was reported that maybe they were differing on who they liked. Not the case. They agree it's Donovan McNabb. And one of the things they like is that he's started for 4 years at Syracuse. The pick is coming in. Let's go up to the commissioner, make it official. And you know the Eagles fans are hoping running back. We'll see.
With the second pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Donovan McNabb, quarterback, Syracuse University.
You know what? This is the biggest non-New York contingent we have ever had. And now the Giants and Eagles fans are going, you know what? The season is underway here in late April.
It kicked off awfully early. I mean, the Eagles were genuinely, the fans are irate over the fact that they didn't take Ricky Williams. But you have to, I hope the fans don't take it out on Donovan McNabb.
No, they better not.
They really better not, because he's a young man who has the opportunity to be able to come in and I think really make an impact on the Eagles on offense. He has the athletic ability of a Randall Cunningham. He has the size and poise in the pocket of a Rodney Peete. I think you take a combination like that and give him a chance to grow under Andy Reid, you're going to have yourself a fine young quarterback. His athletic ability is the thing that stands out the most in my mind.
We're going to show these highlights in a minute, but Mel, let me just say this. In talking with Andy Reid yesterday, he says, hey, I know a Beer offense, there's some things different than the pros, but a lot of the reads and a lot of the turns that he makes on throwing are similar to the West Coast offense that they will run, and that helps sell them on him.
A lot of progressions, Chris. I think when you look at Donovan McNabb, as Joe said, the athleticism, you watch him run the option and play against some top teams along the way. Look at those career passing yards, touchdown passes. Very productive player. He makes plays on the football. Here against Tennessee early in the year, running the option for the touchdown. So he has that ability to create. You look at his escape skills when he has to drop back. Not only escape, but look at the vision. Look at the eyes. He's looking down the field, spots that third, fourth option, and accurately delivers the football. This is against Michigan. Watch the scramble again. Avoid, create. There you go. I mean, that is special, and I think that's the difference between the Donovan McNabb and some of the other pocket passers that come along. Look at the deep arm strength. There's Kevin Johnson. He could be a late first, early second-round pick. Here again, throwing back. Stephen Brominski. This won the football game against Virginia Tech. This is the difference between Donovan McNabb. The escapability, Chris. And I think when you look at Tom Modrak coming over to the Philadelphia Eagles along with Andy Reid. Tom Modrak, a tremendous history of success with Tom Donahoe in Pittsburgh, helped orchestrate a lot of those key drafts when they were losing free agents. They made up for it. Philadelphia Eagles had some terrible drafts along the way. I think that's going to change with Tom Modrak and Andy Reid in control of the Philadelphia Eagles organization.
Last year, 22 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. This is... Boy, I tell you what, the mayor came out a few days ago. This is today's Philadelphia Daily News. The mayor came out a couple days ago and said, you know, we should draft Ricky Williams, the running back. Call the Eagles and tell them. And it blew out the phones at the Eagles headquarters for about 3 or 4 hours. But, Joe, you said something that's most accurate. Fans, Donovan McNabb is a 4-year starter in college. One of the reasons Brett Favre was able to play so well so quickly was that he had 4 years of starting at Southern Miss. And that experience will go in a big way to help Donovan McNabb be a major contributor for a long time at the Eagles. And don't take it out on him. He's an exciting player, a great athlete.
You're absolutely right, Chris. There's one thing I want to talk about as far as him working in Syracuse. In Syracuse, the type of offense they ran, it forced people to play a lot of man-to-man coverage against them. In doing so, he threw a lot of man-to-man routes. I got to be perfectly honest with you. If I got a young quarterback coming out of college who's worked against man-to-man coverage, I think that's a big plus. I think anybody can come out of college and throw the ball for 500 yards a game against zones. That's easy to teach. Throwing the ball against man-to-man coverage is something more difficult. But I like the way Donovan McNabb has been able to put his package together as a quarterback and do the things that he needs to do. First of all, he has excellent ball position. You see the ball up high right there. That's excellent position for a ball, standing nice and tall in the pocket. Now, as he moves around and scrambles around, he shows the athletic ability. Here he is on the move, resets the ball to the same identical position, which allows him to throw the ball with accuracy. He's a little stiff in his drop back. I'd like to see him work the ball a little bit more, and he takes that hand off the ball. That he has to learn to do. Hang on to the ball a little bit long for protection. He makes himself small when he gets back in the pocket. What I mean is he drops down so low, you're going to get down where you're going to lose sight of defensive backs. Those are some of the things that are very easily correctable by a quarterback. It's the athletic ability, the arm strength, the intangibles that I really believe is going to make him exceptional. I think he has a terrific upside, Chris. I really do.
For the third time in the 90s, this year, last year, of course, with Manning and Leaf, and in 93 with Bledsoe and Meyer, quarterbacks 1-2. Mortimer, Donovan McNabb, certainly a lot of experience as a starter.
Well, and that's right. And here's what went into some of the thought process as it pertains to Donovan McNabb with the Andy Reid, the new Philadelphia coach. Remember, this is a quarterback-driven offense. And Andy Reid really sees some of Brett Favre and Donovan McNabb. That's credentials enough. He thinks he's by far the best athlete in the draft, even better than Champ Bailey. He thinks he can play 4 skill positions in the NFL. And not only that, but the offense, this West Coast offense, the #1 pass play, hey, we talk about the option, is the play action. It's the sprint, draw, fake, blast, and that's exactly what he thinks McNabb will do. And he's also going to make this very much a character draft, and McNabb, Chris, falls right in line with that.
Well, Donovan McNabb, as you mentioned, an outstanding athlete. And they have Doug Peterson there, who's almost like a quarterback, but also kind of like a coach in this offense. Will McNabb start right away? Probably not. Will he start at all this year? They'll have to wait and see. But they're going to be patient with him, give him a chance to look, and then give him a chance to contribute. Solomon Wilcots, former Bengal, our colleague, is in New England right now for a hot spot, but your former team, Solomon, on the clock, Cincinnati. Did they take Akili Smith? Are they fielding offers? What do you think?
Well, Chris, they are listening to everyone. They're sitting idly by, and they're taking all the calls. But I just got off the phone, and I talked with people with the Cincinnati Bengals, and they told me that they would prefer to stay put and use that third pick. Now, with Donovan McNabb gone, with Tim Couch gone, I look for the Bengals to take Achilles Smith. They like his strong arm and his accuracy, Chris.
Well, there's no question, Solomon, that he has a major league arm. The question on Achilles, he hasn't played that much. It's one of the most meteoric rises in the history of the NFL draft. Achilles on the phone. Is Mike Brown at the other end? We'll be back.
Down the center of the phone. C-A-L-L-E-T-T. I got super freaking moves.
Dance to it, just don't quit. Move that body, girl. You be the ultimate. Put your hands in the sky and do that dance. Show
Strong. Excuse me? Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT for guaranteed cheap collect calls. That's right. Feel it in your center.
Some people call it retirement planning. I think of this as future construction. Year by year, block by block, until it's our dream house.
Beautiful. But I was hoping we could afford to travel.
This plan can help make it happen. We can even make sure you've got worry-free income for life.
AXA, dynamic vision, equitable, a trusted resource. Call us. Equitable is a member of the global AXA Group.
Sports Century's 50 Greatest Athletes, a year-long celebration. Number 39, Walter Payton. Friday at 10:30 on ESPN. Presented by General Motors.
The Bengals will not entertain trade offers. The pick is in. Let's go to the podium.
With the third choice, the Cincinnati Bengals select Achilles Smith, quarterback, University of Oregon. The Indianapolis Colts are now on the clock.
Achilles Smith, a duck, trying to follow in the footsteps of Oregon quarterbacks like Hall of Famer Dan Fouts. A rocket arm who skyrocketed up the charts in the NFL draft like not only no quarterback, but maybe like no player we have seen in 1 year, Mel.
No question about it, Chris. He was basically an undrafted free agent when the season started, moved way up the draft board into the second round, then into the first round, then into the mid-first round. Then he was even being discussed a couple weeks ago as maybe the #1 pick overall. You watch Achilles Smith, the tight spiral, the RPM, and the productivity this year. Remember, they called him a 1-year wonder. He put it all together this season. Watch this ball. Look at that release. Look at that tight spiral and the zip on the football. Unbelievable arm strength. John Elway, Burt Jones type arm strength. That's what Achilles Smith possesses. And I think that's the difference with Achilles Smith. The arm strength there, the mobility as well. Watch him here against Michigan State. Not only avoid, but then have the sense to spot that receiver open in the end zone. Here again, the mobility and the speed. He's out racing defensive backs to the end zone here. So you're talking about a special athlete who this year, watch the touch coming up on this pass, Joe. This is something he could not do as a junior. He did as a senior, especially late in the year. Over the last 4 games, and watch the accuracy here. Over the last 4 games, after Reuben Drones, their fine running back, was injured, Achilles Smith threw 13 touchdown passes, only 1 interception. He carried that team on his shoulder. He matured a great deal, put those off-the-field problems behind him. Remember, he played 3 years in baseball in the minor league organization with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think when you look at Achilles Smith, I talked to him last night, seems like he's really excited. Yes. He feels like he came out of nowhere. He just wants the opportunity to compete for a starting job in the NFL. And I tell you, what a meteoric rise from an undrafted free agent at the beginning of the year to maybe, you know, you're talking about even a #1 pick, now the #3 pick to Cincinnati.
Well, we talked about the Oregon pedigree with Fouts, and he's now the 12th quarterback to go to the NFL. High school in San Diego that produced Terrell Davis and Marcus Allen. So there's pretty good, at least pedigree there, at least if you're looking at it from horse eyes. More on Achilles in a moment. So quarterbacks have gone 1, 2, 3. The second pick, Donovan McNabb, is the first choice in the new regime of the Philadelphia Eagles. Joining us now on the Sprint video conference from Philadelphia is the new head coach, and we'd like to introduce him to everybody, Andy Reid, who is a key part of the Packers' success under Mike Holmgren and his tutelage of Brett Favre. Well, Andy, welcome. You've got your man, and this is a guy that a lot of people said you'd have to scratch your head. Who would you pick? You were very much decided on why Donovan McNabb, correct?
I sure was. Yes, Boomer. I felt very strong about him. What a fine person we're getting, and likewise a fine football player.
Andy, we discussed on the phone, you and I, that the type of offense that he had at Syracuse is in some ways similar to the West Coast offense that you will run. Will you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, Chris, I'll tell you what, it really is. I had an opportunity to break down the film on Donovan and pull out plays, number one, that I felt were timing routes that might fit into the West Coast offense. One where he came back, he had to anticipate what the defense was going to do and then make the play. I thought he did that with tremendous accuracy. He was able to keep his eyes down the field, do some of the things that we want him to do in this West Coast system.
Andy, is there pressure to play? I mean, not quite yet, but what is a timetable? I know we're sitting in April. The timetable for him to play and for him to start. Do you see it late this year? Do you see it this year at all? Do you see it right away? What are you thinking right now? I know it's April.
Well, Chris, that's a little bit of the crystal ball theory. I brought Doug Peterson in here to play football for me, and I did that with a plan in mind. Not only does Doug come in and give me a security blanket from the quarterback position, but he also is a person that can help teach Donovan the ins and outs of this offense. And Doug will come in and be the #1 quarterback and give Donovan an opportunity to learn.
Good luck in Philadelphia. We know we'll be hearing from you later again today. You've got your guy, and hey, these fans will turn around here in New York. I'll work on them, all right?
No, I understand that. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Take care, fellas.
All right, Andy. Andy Reid, who will really, it'll be interesting to see how that Eagles offense develops in that West Coast style. Back to Achilles Smith. Mel, last year at this time, where was he? Was he in this book, the Mel Kiper draft report? I mean, was he in here?
He was barely. He was a co-starter, of course, as a junior with Jason Moss, who will probably be a late-rounder undrafted free agent. Look at the quarterbacks. Dante Culpepper, a huge grade going into the year. Ted White at Howard could be a 3rd or 4th round pick. Nice grade. Cade McNown, Joe's favorite, a 54. That's a nice grade for him. Michael Bishop, who may change positions. See Chad Salisbury from the University of Buffalo. Mike Cook, William and Mary. Jason Vandermaat, Alma, all on the same level of Achilles Smith. So you can see where he came from to get to this point where he's the #3 pick overall. And Joe, I tell you what, you talk about a meteoric rise up the charts. None other than Achilles Smith, probably in the history of the NFL draft.
It really was. And I had a chance to talk to Jeff Tedford, his offensive coordinator and his quarterback coach at Oregon. The thing that impressed me about him is Jeff said we worked real hard on his pocket skills, and you could see him respond to that. They worked real hard on him studying and learning and understanding what it takes to be a quarterback, more than just the athletic part of it. He understood that. Having a chance to sit and visit with him last night, I asked him about Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. I said, what did you learn from last year? He said, I heard Peyton put those tapes in his car right away, started studying. Those are the things that I'm going to need to do to get everybody's confidence on this football team. So the lessons of last year's quarterbacks have carried over to this year's quarterbacks. They know how hard they're going to have to study and work. And he's a young man who proved he can dedicate himself to becoming a better football player. You always like to see a guy, Chris, continue to improve and improve. This is a kid who made up his mind and has done it.
The quarterbacks have gone, and now, as Paul Harvey would say, we begin to have the rest of the story. This, you would think, with Indianapolis, may be the spot for a running back. You would think it would be Ricky Williams. And Sean Salisbury, as we got to Indianapolis, you told us at the beginning of the draft, maybe Ricky, maybe Edgerrin James, maybe Champ Bailey. If I'm the Colts, I got to think about a back, but it may not be the back that everybody's thinking of. It might be Edgerrin James. What are you hearing?
I'll tell you, Boomer, they like both of those backs. One they like better outside James, Ricky Williams inside. But let's not just focus on offense. Yeah, Marshall Faulk gone. You think, got to have a running back. They think there might be a quality one in the second round also. And Bill Polian told me that if 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3, it'll be a 75% chance or better. They went defense first, and you think Georgia cornerback Champ Bailey, who they love, and a running back in the second round. Should be interesting on the clock. We're going to find out soon enough. Let's get out to New Orleans and Ed Werder.
Well, Sean, the Saints here have been desperately trying to trade up with the Colts for this pick, but the Colts have refused all trade offers, including a deal that would feature all of this year's draft, plus 1s and 3s next year and a 1 the following year. They have not been able to move into that position. The Colts telling them they're taking a player that they want that's on the board. Now, the question is it Champ Bailey or is it Ricky Williams? If they pass on Ricky Williams, the Saints have a deal in place with the Redskins to take Ricky Williams with the 5 pick. Chris, back to you.
All right, Ed, we will see what happens. Mel, well, let's look at of course, anybody will pale in comparison to the running statistics of the Heisman Trophy winner, Ricky Williams. I mean, these are career numbers. Ricky with over 6,200 rushing for Texas. Edgerrin James, really 2-year starter at Miami, although, you know, 3,000 yards in 2 years is not too bad. If you compare and contrast these two, Mel, what would edge you one way, no pun intended, what would edge you another way?
Gave a slight edge, certainly, to Ricky Williams. I think staying around for 4 years. Remember, he would have been the 6th pick overall last year had he come out, went back, broke all those records, really put up big numbers, worked on his pass receiving, cut down on the fumbles, although he did have one late against Texas A&M. I think Ricky Williams gives a slight edge to Edgerrin James. Did it over this season late in the year against UCLA and their big upset win over the Bruins and against NC State. But when he was on this year, he was unstoppable. Eric Dickerson-type size and breakaway speed in the best hands of any backup graded in a long, long time. So Edgerrin James almost caught Ricky Williams, but you have to give the edge to Williams because he did it over the long haul.
Joe, you compare and contrast. I mean, Ricky, for productivity, is unheralded.
Well, I like to look at it a little bit bigger picture. You certainly take a look at the numbers of these two men. They both put up big numbers. The thing is last year, the 7 picks the Colts had, 4 of them were on offense. You go and draft a Peyton Manning. Now you've got your quarterback. What's the next element that you need to get on your football team? You took a wide receiver last year. You've got that. Where do you want to go? You got rid of Marshall Faulk. I think you have to go the running back. Now you're going to complete that side of the ball. Then you can build through free agency in the draft the defensive side. But offensively, you're going to be set, not just for now, but for quite a period of time.
Well, I think this might be your first real curveball in the draft. I just do. I know Ricky Williams, I mean, we've been talking about him almost for 2 years, if not for 1 year. But if the Colts go running back, which I think they're going to do, don't be surprised if it's the other one, Edgerrin James. His signability may be a little bit different. That will raise a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people didn't think that a 2 and a 5 for Marshall Faulk was enough, but yet Marshall will be a free agent at the end of the year, will be very tough to sign. Bill Polian and the Colts were very happy with what they got in that trade for St. Louis. And now, one tee shot, here comes the shot into the green. Both shots, Mort, that we didn't expect him to take. I think he's going with the other back, Edgerrin James. Mortimer?
Chris, I think signability is always an issue with Bill Polian. Just looking at his experience with Bianca Batuka in Carolina, holdout, injury, and a somewhat busted career so far. And no question signability was an issue with Marshall Faulk. And by the way, there are other teams with a higher grade on Edgerrin James than Ricky Williams, surprising as that is, Chris.
Mortimer, the Colts, I'm sure they took a last-ditch phone call from a team or two, but they've got the quarterback. Remember, they drafted Payton, wide receiver next. They can move the ball, and now they need a running back to take a little pressure off Peyton Manning, who set all sorts of passing records last year. They don't want him to set those same sort of records this year. They'd rather lug it. Is there activity up at the podium? Let's go up to the podium and get the pick from the Indianapolis Colts.
With the 4th choice in this draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Edgerrin James, running back, University of Miami. The Washington Redskins are now on the clock.
See, well, Ricky is obviously disappointed, and he's wondering what's happening. Now, was it just a Swami crystal ball that I just thought up? But they're both special backs. And now, what do you think, Mel, that Ricky Williams is 5 or lower?
I think it might have had something to do, certainly, with signability. I had Ricky Williams 1 on the draft board, Edgerrin James 2, and I don't know if a lot of people out there had Edgerrin James rated that high. I didn't put him over Williams because Williams did it over a longer period of time. But as I said earlier, when James was on, he was unstoppable. You watch a kid here, athletic and great tackles, and then turn on the jet, and I think that's the difference here with Edgerrin James. Big back who has size, has speed, and has toughness. Very fluid runner. Also, the outstanding hands coming out of the backfield. Then the moves in the broken field. That ability after the catch for a kid who's strong and powerful. Has kind of a gliding style, Joe. Sets up his blockers, slips the tackle, continues on down the field. 17 touchdown runs this past season. This kid smells the end zone, and he made a lot of big plays out of the running game, Joe, late in the year, particularly against UCLA in their big upset win, and also against NC State in the bowl game. But is that enough, Joe, to overtake Ricky Williams?
I don't think so. I think you really know a little bit more of what you get with Ricky Williams. I'll tell you right now, Ricky Williams is pissed. Flat out upset. And if you get an athlete upset, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's going to have something to prove. Whoever gets Ricky Williams is going to have an athlete that's really going to want to prove a point. But it also creates a major problem for the Washington Redskins. They want Champ Bailey, okay? Now you got Ricky Williams sitting there. They certainly need a running back. It not only muddles the water as far as what the trade will be possibly with New Orleans, but now Charlie Casserly and Norv Turner have to sit there and say, wow, we never expected both of these athletes to be here. Now we have to make a choice. Which way do we go?
Joe, they had Skip Hicks. You know, they drafted Skip Hicks last year out of UCLA. They had Stephen Davis. They have a back in Skip Hicks that they really think has a chance to be a great back. Do they go with Skip Hicks and roll the dice and keep him in the fold, or do they go with the back here and still stick with Champ Bailey?
Well, we know that, and we heard from Ed Werder in New Orleans earlier, that Washington and New Orleans were mixing up a little cocktail there. Is it still on the bar, Ed?
Well, Chris, you know, they're very excited about the possibility of getting Ricky Williams with this pick. The problem is the deal they had worked out with the Redskins for this pick was contingent upon the player the Redskins wanted being gone. And the guy they wanted is still on the board, Champ Bailey. So now it looks like the Saints may have to not only negotiate with the Redskins, but if that deal falls through and the Redskins take Bailey, they're going to have to get on the phone and talk to the Rams, Chris.
Well, now let me give you another scenario, Ed. They're going to get on the phone. Mike Ditka's going to get on the phone and talk with the Chicago Bears at the 7th spot. That will be an interesting phone call all unto itself. Ed, any other deals that may be happening in New Orleans? I mean, they probably have talked 5 Washington, 6 St. Louis, 7 Chicago, as far down as 8 Arizona.
Well, Chris, they've already had discussions with the Bears at the 7th spot, but they didn't think it was to get Ricky Williams. It was to get possibly David Boston with that pick, assuming, of course, at that point that Ricky Williams was already going to be off the board. So even if Williams goes 5 or 6 here, I still think you might see the Saints trade up to try to get Boston.
So this pick should take the limit of 15 rounds. If you've never watched an NFL draft before, hope the refrigerator is stocked. Each first-round pick, and there are 31 of them, there's 15 minutes, and the second round is 10 minutes. But thus far, Ricky Williams, a wonderful player. Ricky, thus far, has lost that number. We'll be back.
For centuries, our kings were cursed. The sedans had narrow handrails, making them hard to control in the corners. Sadly, many kings lost their thrones. Eventually, it was learned, wider is better.
With its speed-sensitive steering technology, the White Track Grand Prix gives you precise control of the corners.
Ancient scriptures still read, Yo Young-Ho, Taquito.
Wider is better. The White Track Grand Prix by Pontiac.
Before you can throw like an MVP, catch like an all-star, or hit like a Hall of Famer, you'll have to work like a Gabe Kapler. K-Swiss.
Pull over. Finally, after all these years, Fruit says we get this film developed, we're gonna be rich. In 1 hour, we're gonna be celebrities. We're gonna be...
One more, Grandpa.
Okay, sugar. Smile.
Hon, the Weekly World News is going to be here in 10 minutes.
Polaroid. See what develops.
Excuse me, we got him holding a giant yam. Y'all mind?
This ESPN News presentation of the 1999 NFL Draft is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. With fares so low, you have the freedom to fly. By 1-800-CALL-ATT for collect calls. And by AXA and the Equitable. Start building your financial future today.
Back in New York at the 64th NFL Draft began back in 1936, and this one may be one of the more historic by the time it is over. Let's go back down to New Orleans and see if the trade did indeed go down. Ed?
Well, Chris, the Ricky Williams wait is just about over. The Saints have just completed a trade with the Redskins for this pick, and they will take Ricky Williams. Terms of that not known at this time. When I was on the phone with the War Room, the celebration was so loud at that point I was unable to get the details right now. But I'll pursue those and get back to you.
So a party already underway in New Orleans, and that's a town that doesn't really need an excuse for a party. Boy, Mike Ditka was so outspoken with what he wanted to trade for Ricky Williams, and you know what? He's got his man. Let's go up to the podium and join the commissioner. Yep. You know, when it's a trade card, it takes a little longer to fill out. And we thought this was ready to go, but first they read the trade, Joe.
Especially when you talk about this kind of a trade.
With
There's a whole bunch of numbers. Yeah, it's not like here's a 1, here's a 2. It's a 1, it's a 2. It's everything in 99. It's part of 2000. And Ricky can't be disappointed because he's going someplace where somebody really expects him to contribute, wants him to contribute, and he will be embraced and needed to play there in New Orleans to give them some semblance of a running game.
Well, let's see if this is indeed the moment for the most prolific back in terms of yards in Division 1A history.
I think he's going to be sensational. I really do.
I do too. I
think he's going to be a terrific football player. And the only reason he's fallen is simply because of needs of other football teams, not because it's a reflection on his ability.
Mike Ditka loves him.
There has been a trade involving this 5th pick in the draft. The New Orleans Saints are now on the clock.
Well, they won't be on the clock for long. So the Saints have moved up, and now Ricky knows. And you know what? He's going to a place where he is going to be embraced, and he is going to get the ball immediately because there's an offense that, well, Mike Ditka knows a little bit about some decent backs. Sweden is the all-time leader in the pros. Now he gets the all-time leader in college football, Ricky Williams.
Well, he does, and I think Ricky Williams is a phenomenal back, but they still have a quarterback problem in New Orleans. Billy Joe Hobart off an Achilles tendon injury. You get the great back, Ricky's going to have to carry that offense because I think the triggerman still to be determined. I'm not a Billy Joe Hobart supporter as a starting quarterback in this league.
Billy Joe, everybody named Billy Joe and Bobby Joe is on the New Orleans depth chart at quarterback.
You got to be a Joe if you're there.
But they know how to hand off, and they'll learn awfully quickly. Ed Werder back to New Orleans. What's the latest? Has the reveling died down?
Probably not, but enough so that I was able to get the terms of the deal. The Saints are going to get him cheaper than they expected. They're giving up all of their draft this year and next year's number 1 and number 3 picks. So they get Ricky Williams for less than some people might have imagined. Chris, they couldn't be more excited. Mike Ditka came in with a big cigar here today. I think he just lit it up.
That's okay. Well, that was his original offer that was out there for about a week or so. All my draft and a 1 and a 3 next year. So, I mean, he's paying dearly. Is this too much to pay for a player of this sort?
I don't think so. You know, we talked about him, and Mel had him rated as the #1 player in the draft. When you're talking about the #1 rated player in the draft, I don't think any price is too high to pay, especially if you're in a situation where Mike Ditka is and you say to yourself, I can't run the football. I've not been able to run the football, and I am the man that likes to run the football. Everything I do is based off that. I don't think it's too much.
Let me ask you this, Joe. Billy Joe Hobart, the starting quarterback, off an Achilles tendon injury. Is this a package with Williams and Hobart they can win with?
I think it's a package that it's a foundation to start with. I think they're going to have to go find a quarterback at some point in time, and I think they'll be able to.
Let me just tell you what the picks are. A 12th round overall pick in this year. They have no second to the Saints, so the Skins now get a 1, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7, and a 1 and a 3 next year. Meanwhile, Indianapolis turns some heads. Edgerrin James, not Ricky Williams. Sean Salisbury, you're with the coach of the Colts, Jim Mora. Sean?
Thanks, Boomer. Coach Mora. You talk about Ricky Williams. You surprised the world with Edgerrin James.
Well, we like both backs. We think they're both outstanding backs that are going to be very good backs in the National Football League. But basically, we feel that Edgerrin gives us a little bit more what we want to do with our offense, and that's why we picked him.
Now, I know that the Saints came at you with a big offer also, plus a couple extra veteran players. Why not take that? Is Edgerrin James that good?
Well, we like him in a lot, and we just felt like to get a back of that caliber at this point from a standpoint of our offense and how he fits in with the rest of our young guys on offense, that we just felt like we needed to have him.
Boomer, they got their running back and quarterback. Let's go back to you.
All right, John and Coach Mora, thank you very much. And now music to the ears of Mike Ditka in New Orleans as it is about to be made official.
With the fifth pick in the draft, the New Orleans Saints select Ricky Williams, running back, University of Texas. St. Louis Rams are now on the board.
You know what? A couple of years from now, even later on this year, nobody will care that you didn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. You know, and you went 5 instead of 1. If you gain what we think Ricky Williams is going to gain, 13. I mean, I don't want to put a number on it. You gain that. Who will care that you weren't the first overall pick in the draft? That doesn't mean anything.
And from an economic standpoint,
I don't think it's there, but
no,
so what?
I don't think it will. I think you have to treat him like the #1 pick in the draft from an economic standpoint as well.
I mean, right, Mel? I mean, yes, economically is the difference, but so what? If he's going to play 10 years, plenty of chance to make it up, and he's not going to suffer at #5 anyway.
And if you think he was motivated last year when he won a Heisman Trophy, wait till this coming season and the seasons to come when he goes into the NFL with something to prove. You see Earl Campbell here. You're going to see that same style. There's Isaiah Robertson. You see the same style. That's why they call him Little Earl, the way he just stampedes defenders. There's Dave Elmendorf. Or Moran.
Good job, Mel.
I mean, you're looking at a back who can break tackles, has incredible quickness, and has that ability that I think when you talk about a 234-pounder, he can run away from people in the secondary. And that's the difference. I think when you look at Ricky Williams, you're looking at a complete football player. You see the speed here with the pads on. I don't care how much you want his 40 time is. With the pads on, and there he is wearing number 11. What's number 34, then the number 37, memory of Doak Walker. And here he is catching the football out of the backfield, then making people miss in the open field. Combination of speed and power. Here against A&M, Joe, he breaks the record. Another tremendous run. Tackle break, speed, turns it on. Defensive back had the angle. He still gets it in the end zone. This is a tremendous football player. And as I said, Chris, now you get him, you're the Saints. You get Ricky Williams with an attitude to say, hey, take another running back ahead of me. Let me drop down to 5. I'm going to prove everybody wrong.
First thing about attitude, if you're wondering if the Saints play the Colts this year, they do not. So they'll have to wait till at least another season. Number 2 about attitude, the relationship between now the late Doak Walker and Ricky Williams was legitimate and heartfelt, and I think that speaks volumes about the young man. I mean, he really developed a kinship with Doak Walker the last couple of years. I think that tells you more about the guy. But Mike Ditka already summed that up himself. Let's go down to New Orleans and join Ed Werder with the coach.
I'm here with Coach Mike Ditka, who just lit up his celebratory cigar, and it looks like you may be smoking that for some time.
This could last 3 or 4 weeks.
What was it like going through that draft, wondering if the Colts were, when they wouldn't make the trade with you, whether they were going to take the player you wanted?
Well, we really thought they were, and you know, we tried with everybody. Bill was been on the phone for a week, and actually very, very much this morning, and we thought maybe we could get something done. I mean, I thought that the offer we made was beyond reason, but I guess other people have their own feelings about that. I believe things are supposed to happen for reasons, and I think he's supposed to come here. I mean, I really believe that. I love the kid. I love everything about him. I've watched every player, and there's a lot of great football players in this draft. And we would have been happy with some other ones, but I tell you what, he's what we need. We really need this kid, and I think he's going to show everybody, too, that he is the best college football player coming out. I don't care about the other guys.
Think he might come in a little bit angry given that Edgerrin James went ahead of him?
No, I don't think Ricky's that kind of kid. I really don't. I don't think he worries about that. I think he just knows he's got a job to do. He's going to come in and do it to the best of his ability, and we're going to become a much better football team because of him.
Beyond what he does on the football field for you, does he give you an identity that you sorely lack?
Well, he gives us what Walter Payton gave us in Chicago. He gave us what Walter Payton did, you know, in Chicago. I mean, you got a great running back. You give him the ball. It makes your offense better. It makes your passing game better, hopefully. And it makes your defense better because they're not on the field as much. And if they want to put 8 or 9 men up front to stop them, we'll find a way to combat that because we think we can. And he's also a pretty good receiver now when you take him out of the backfield. But I don't think that's what you want to do with him too much.
Well, you have no more picks now. You look like you're dressed for an evening out. What will you do with the rest of the day?
Gone golfing. You want me to sing?
If you like. What?
On a shady Sunday day, or Saturday, whatever it is.
What was the reaction in your room when James was passed and you knew you had the deal in place with the Redskins?
It was pretty calm except for me and Danny and Tom and Bill and everybody else because he's the player, you know. I guess maybe you make a mistake when you make a commitment like I made early, and I said this, I'd give up my draft for him and this and that, but I would, and I meant it. I wasn't kidding. I don't believe in playing the games that some of these teams play. I mean, everything is so much intrigue, it kind of tickles me to death. I mean, if every people were that smart, what the hell, they ought to know who they want.
Okay, Mike Ditka gets the only player he wants and the rest of the day off. Boomer, back to you.
All right, Ed and Coach, thank you. You know what I love? There are 30 other coaches and GMs, et cetera, that are sweating this thing out for 2 days. And Mike is now going to work on his handicap for the weekend. I think it's great. Here is the trade, as we spoke to you before, to swap. And Washington, remember, only drops down 7 slots now. It's not like they dropped out of the first round. So they swap first-round picks, and then Washington gets a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 7 this year, and a 1 and a 3 in the year 2000. Y2K, if everything works. So that's what Washington gets out of it. And the Saints get their guy, and the coach goes golfing. Again, Mel, I want to ask, is this too steep a price, or if a guy is going to be this good, do you agree with what Mike did, or do you agree with Washington? Who got the better of this?
I think it's a lot to give up. I really do. Like I said, Ricky Williams was the #1 player in the draft. The only problem is he dropped to 5, and to go up to 5 to get the #1 player, if you're talking about a Saint team that was 1 player away, maybe you would agree. I still think they have to get that quarterback. Billy Joe Hobart off the injury. Billy Joe Tolliver, a career backup. They need the quarterback to get the job done. And I think when you look at it from the Redskin perspective, a lot of needs. They need those hole fillers. I've always been an advocate of moving down. Now they're set for next year's draft. They can utilize that 12th pick to help out the offensive line. But they do lose out on Champ Bailey and Chris McAllister, who would have been tremendous additions to that Redskin secondary.
Heisman Trophy winners were running backs in the NFL. Some of them have made their mark for all time. A guy named Barry Sanders, who was drafted 10 years ago in the #3 slot. Tony Dorsett, Hall of Fame. Marcus Allen will be Hall of Fame. The Juice, Earl Campbell, Herschel Walker. These are some of the Heisman trophies who have really made their mark. Now, of course, it's not 100%. It's not even 90%. But if Little Earl can become Big Earl, Mike Ditka will have a deal well worth it. We'll be back with St. Louis on the clock.
We had our first client before we had our first office.
Back then, we thought my green thumb and my brother's vivid imagination were all we needed.
We didn't count on nights and weekends trying to be bookkeeper and general manager. Before long, I could see we needed help. Financial help.
Someone suggested American Express Small Business Services, so I called. We knew about the corporate card.
But we had no idea it could help us grow.
Right away, we got a handle on expenses.
And when larger projects came along, they gave us the financing we needed.
We got more powerful equipment, brand new computers. We even get discounts on the gas we buy and the packages we send.
1-800-SUCCESS was the best call we ever made.
You know, with the corporate card, we've learned what it's like to have a partner you can count on.
And a brother.
To apply for the corporate card and help your business do more, call 1-800-SUCCESS.
Tonight on ESPN, National Hockey Night, Baseball Tonight, and Sports Center. On ESPN2, the 99 NFL Draft, followed by X in Concert and NHL Tonight. And on ESPN Classic, Behind the Fights and College Basketball Classics. Do you have all the ESPN networks?
The St. Louis Rams, who have been a busy week and a major factor in this draft before they even stepped up to the plate, which they are on the clock right now, by making a trade 2 days ago for Marshall Faulk, get a running back that they covet, get a running back who was a former #2 draft pick in the entire draft, in exchange for a high 2, and a 5. So the Rams are on the clock, who now have a choice in either defensive back, the Deion Sanders, if you will, Champ Bailey, or Chris McAllister, if you will. Some compare him to Ronnie Lott. That's coming up. Ricky Williams, though, has a home, and his home right now is with Mike Tirico. Michael?
All right, Chris, thank you. Ricky, I was watching you as you were standing backstage. In 10 minutes, you went from being passed over for another running back to being traded for, and in return, the other team got 7 future players.
Right.
What was your range of emotions in those 10 minutes?
Well, I think I expected Indy to take me because in talking to them, they sounded very interesting. So I was kind of surprised that they passed on me, but excited I'm going somewhere where I'm really wanted.
Were you mad?
Mad? No, I wasn't mad at all.
When you look ahead now, do you have something to prove to people because you were the second back taken in this draft?
I don't think so. I'm just going to go out there and play football the way I always do. I'm not worried about proving anything to anyone.
Some people talked about some things that have gone on since the Heisman period in the banquet circuit and your weight. Did you think that showed people that you weren't disciplined enough to do what you needed to do to be ready for the most important day of your professional life, which is up to now, today?
Well, I'm sure they could have taken it that way, but I know what I can do, and I've done it for 4 years, so hopefully I can keep on doing it.
Signability. Some people thought that may be a question. Your agent, Master P, who is a multi-millionaire and a very successful businessman, but not experienced in the world of football and negotiating. Do you think that was something seen by some people as a negative?
I don't know. I'm sure it could have been, but it's their first contract. We'll see how that goes, and in the future they won't have this problem.
I don't know if you got a chance to see Coach Ditka. Big Hawaiian shirt, huge cigar. He's going off to celebrate because he's done for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
He said he wanted you, and he got you. What does that make you feel like?
It feels great. I was down there last week, and they were talking about how the coaches were saying, you know, if we draft you, you can just go home and hit the golf course and get home early instead of being there all weekend. So I think other coaches are excited, and I'm also excited about being the same.
That's the good news, but you follow football. You know people talk about the Herschel Walker trade and all those picks. People are going to talk about the Ricky Williams trade down the line. You've carried a lot of burdens all the way through here. Are you ready to carry that burden into the pros?
I'm not too worried. I'm just going to go out there and do all I can do, and if it's not good enough, I tried my best. And if it is, then great.
You handled this like they've handled every step along the way. Class, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Ricky.
All right.
Boom, back to you.
All right, Michael. All right, Ricky, congratulations going to the Saints. And just look at these numbers. Hard to get more gaudy than this. NCAA record. He passed Tony Dorsett for career yards of 6,200 plus. Yards a carry, breaking the record of the two-time Heisman Trophy winner Archie Griffin. Anthony Thompson had the rushing touchdown record, broken. Touchdowns in 2 seasons, broke Barry's. Broke Marcus Allen's record of 200-yard games. I mean, not only are they records, he's breaking records of guys that went down to be pretty darn good, Mel.
Oh, he did it all. I think when you look at what he did at the college level, phenomenal productivity. I think when you look at the best available player, Ricky Williams. Let's look at some of the other top players in the draft. Edgerrin James, Tim Couch already off the board. Champ Bailey dropping down a little bit further than some clubs may have anticipated. It's going to be interesting to see. You look at the Torrey Holt, outstanding wide receiver from NC State. You know, you have some cornerbacks still there. Will the Redskins still be able to get a corner down the line? Will St. Louis go for offense? They got Marshall Faulk. Now they can get Holt. Or will they go for the defensive back? So look for a little more options for teams than they may have expected going in.
Right, what a great, interesting pick for St. Louis, and they've made it. Let's go up to the podium.
With the 6th pick in the draft, the St. Louis Rams select Torrey Holt, wide receiver, North Carolina.
Well, even with Champ Bailey there, they stuck to their plan late last night, which was Holt, Mel.
Very polished receiver, Chris. He went back for his senior year, worked all summer on his route running, watch him set up the cornerback, catch the deep ball here. You see the route running, you see the polish, the hands, everything very effortless for Torrey Holt. That came this year. Like I say, studied hard during the summer, worked on his route running, and here, the vision, the eyes, watching the quarterback, working with the quarterback, making the tough reception. Watch the concentration here. That's as a senior. As a junior, he made a lot of improvement during the course of this past season. Touchdown reception with his hands. Here's a punt return against Florida State. And get wide and then turn on the speed, break a tackle. So you're looking at a kid who has a great deal of athletic ability. Not sprinter speed, Chris, but a guy who certainly can burst out of his break and make plays. Again, on the deep ball against Florida State. Also the knee injury. Sustained a minor knee injury Tuesday prior to the Senior Bowl. Of the minor surgery, you're looking at Torrey Holt during his individual workout run between 4.36 and 4.44, caught everything thrown in his direction. That solidified a position for Torrey Holt in the top 10 overall and allowed him to remain ahead of David Boston as the #1 wide receiver in this draft.
We've had 6 offensive players, 3 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and a wide receiver go thus far. And now on the clock on the 7th pick was Chicago. But before we could even say this was a hot spot, it got red hot because the Chicago Bears and Washington Redskins have worked a trade. Washington doesn't have an owner, but they've been on the clock twice already. Mort, what do we have?
Well, I think what you have here is now the Redskins' best case scenario. They get all the picks with New Orleans, and now they go up to get Champ Bailey, the player they coveted all along. And all I can tell you is I had a good conversation with Charlie Casserly this week about protecting the integrity of this draft, knowing that he and Norv Turner could be on very short-term contracts. And he said, Mort, you just don't worry about those things. You just draft like you would normally draft as if you're going to be there for 5 more years. So Right now, this is a great scenario for the Redskins with Champ Bailey, and the Bears move back, I think at 12, looking at Cade McNown, the UCLA quarterback, Chris.
Yeah, he should be there, but may not be, but that's a risk they'll take. And Washington, you're right. No, they get the people's champ, it looks like. We'll see if that's what they do, but let's go up to our Bristol locale and join Mark Malone and Ron Jaworski. And guys, your thoughts on offense, offense, offense. I know you can respect that.
Well, we certainly can, Boomer, no doubt about it. Dick Vermeil and the St. Louis Rams had a lot of needs, and some of those needs on the defensive side of the football. They needed to cover a corner, and they needed some linebackers, but they chose Torrey Holt. Why is that, Ron?
Mark, just before the draft started, I talked to Coach Vermeil, and it was clear to him that he wanted to build an explosive offense. When you look at the new quarterback in Trent Green, you look at Isaac Bruce, you look at Marshall Faulk, now you throw in a Torrey Holt, you have playmakers. This is an offense that was really sputtering last year. It may be the best turnaround of any team right now through the draft, through free agency, and through trades. They have really upgraded their team.
No doubt about it. They are explosive, got some problems on the defensive side of the ball that they still have to address. Meanwhile, the Washington Redskins are still on the clock. We'll be back with more coverage of ESPN's 1999 NFL Draft right after this.
Animator. Knows good, knows evil. Knows that having a formidable partner is definitely good. Chevy S10 like a rock.
Get your hands up! Get your hands up! Go, 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 go! Thank you, Detroit! We love you!
Detroit was last night.
Want to get away? Now you can. Fly Southwest Airlines coast to coast for $99 or less when you purchase tickets by April 27th.
You are now free to move about the country.
Robin and I are going to Cooperstown together, and nobody's going to care that I got 98% of the vote and you only got 77.
Yeah, just like nobody's going to care I won more MVP awards, George.
We'll be too busy celebrating with Miller Lite, which tastes great because it's so smooth.
Well, I think it tastes great because of the choice hops.
Are you sure about that, Robin?
Yeah, I'm sure.
98% sure, or just 77% sure?
Miller Lite, the great taste of a true Pilsner beer.
That MVP thing's killing you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, they scarfed out enough to choke a moose.
Yeah, and tip me a lousy $1. Thanks for nothing.
Keep your hairnet on. You can get a 20-minute phone call for under $1.
You gotta stop drinking at breakfast.
He's talking about 10, 10, 220. Diamond, you can yak up for 20 minutes for only 99 cents. All day, every day.
You are a flapjack flipping genius, Slappy.
Say I talk over 20 minutes, big shot, huh?
It's only 10 cents each extra minute.
I guess the dollar does go a long way.
Not a bad tip. Is it gyro or gyro?
Back in New York, and the trade and the pick by the Redskins are ready to rumble.
Let me give you the specifics on the Chicago trade with Washington. To obtain this pick from Chicago, the 7th pick in the first round, the Redskins traded to the Bears the New Orleans Saints first-round pick in this year's draft, New Orleans Saints third-round pick in this year's draft, Washington's 4th and 5th round picks in this year's draft, as well as a third-round pick in the next year's draft. And with the 7th pick, the Washington Redskins select Champ Bailey, defensive back, University of Georgia.
Well, if you get 8 draft picks, you might as well deal some of them away, I guess. So they got 8, although they really struggled. They got 7 additional picks to the Redskins. So as we read it, they've given away 4 picks. So they're up 3, still get the player they want. They don't have an owner, but they get a coach, they get a GM, and they got one hell of a player. And many GMs, Mel told me, by far and away, Champ Bailey was their favorite player in the entire draft.
Well, I think when you look at the trade, Chris, they would have had to be very fortunate to see a Champ Bailey or a Chris McAllister drop down. Joe, we were trying to look at it and see if they would be fortunate enough to see that happen. They weren't going to gamble that would happen. Move back up to get to Champ Bailey, who was the guy that they had keyed on all along. Darrell Green getting up there in age, can't go on forever. Dishman off and down here. They needed a big corner in Washington. 5'11 and a half, 184 pounds. Champ Bailey, outstanding in coverage here against Tennessee. Peerless Price comes away with the interception. Talk about his great hands, the ball skills that he provides. Wide receiver, he's outstanding. Applies that ability in coverage. There again, the pass deflects, and he's tough. Watch this, Joe. This is a kid who's hard-nosed, good run support, tough football player. Here again, solid tackle after the catch. Now you'll see him coming on the corner blitz, moving in for the sack against Auburn. Now on the other side of the ball, we saw the hands in terms of the interceptions, now at wide receiver. A double threat, also a return man. Another touchdown reception against Virginia in their bowl game. The kid is a remarkable athlete. I think the question you have to look at if you're the Washington Redskins, how much do you work him on wide receiver? I think if you look at the Redskins' perspective, they need him so desperately at corner to be the next Darrell Green. They don't want to really have him worrying about so much. He played 95% of the plays in Georgia. That was too much. Now he'll be just a corner early on. Maybe down the road, Joe, if they need a big play, maybe a little wide receiver.
Let me answer your question first. I don't think he works at all on offense. I think he exclusively works on defense because we don't really know how good Champ Bailey can be because he never really had a chance to focus totally on defense when he was at Georgia. Kudos to Charlie Casserly, Norv Turner, and everybody there. You made the trade. You made a move up. You protected yourself, got one of the players you coveted and won in the first round. I think that's just an excellent move. You take a look at the secondary. They've acquired Sam Shade this year. You got Lamont Evans at free safety. Chris Dishman. Chris is getting a little bit older, can be a great tutor for Champ Bailey. Darrell Green continues to play at a very high level. It helps his secondary out tremendously, and it's going to really help the side of the ball that needs an awful lot of help, and that's the defense of the Washington Redskins. The deals for the tackles last year, now you get a corner, you make a deal for a safety. The pieces are starting to come together. An opportunity maybe, just maybe, for whoever winds up owning this football team to say, hey, these guys are doing a pretty good job. I think I'll keep them around.
Well, maybe so. You're going to start singing? Well, you like the pick, I know, because if it can be anywhere close to Darrell Green, 16 years and still going strong, he's going to be a heck of a player. The importance of having a top-notch cornerback in the NFL, you ask around the league, cannot be understated.
First of all, the most important thing on defense is pressure on the passer. Now, how does that relate to the corner? If you have great cover corners, you can send more people to the quarterback. It's that simple.
It's so important today with the changing offenses, from a defensive standpoint, to be able to take a side away or a particular player away. And I think that's why there is a sudden move in the direction of the cornerback position.
When you look at a team that you consider a championship caliber team, that's one of the areas you look at immediately, because that's one of the areas that if you are subpar out there and you give up some plays, it's going to cost you games.
You've got athletes at receiver nowadays that can make an awful lot of big plays and make them real fast. You've got defenses that are becoming more zone blitz oriented, more blitz oriented, putting more pressure on the corner and requiring a better player at the position.
The more and more empty sets we see with 5 wide receivers, the 4 wides, the 3 wides now is standard. Third cornerback is a starting position anymore in the National Football League. It's just a reaction to what the offense does. The defense has to counter, and so those quality corners, and especially the so-called shutdown corners who can lock out a receiver, are as valuable as any defensive player you have.
Well, Washington certainly knows all about it, having had Darrell Green and for a couple of years while he was still great Chris Dishman. And now they hope that Champ Bailey can fit that mold. Well, Champ Bailey is one of the most exciting college players we've seen in quite a long time. Why don't we go up to the guys who watched him week in and week out, and that's our fellows in Bristol, Coach Gottfried, Kirk Herbstreit, with our man Chris Fowler. Chris?
All right, Boomer, anybody who watched Georgia play saw a lot of Champ Bailey guys. He played more than 90 plays per game his senior year. That's more plays than anybody really in the modern era of college football. When you look at his 1998 season, played so many plays, Mike, that at times it was kind of unfair to judge him as a defensive back because he played so much receiver, also played on special teams. He got tired a lot, but when he was not tired, he was truly great.
He's an impact player. You talk about a great player, 4'3", 40, 42-inch vertical jump, plays on offense, defense, special teams, does it all. Very long arms, which allows him to jam the receiver. Here he's against Peerless Price of Tennessee, doesn't let him off the football. Excellent ball skills for the interception. He can blitz off the corner. You talked about Chris. He averages over 100 snaps per game. Good hands. He practices 20 minutes with the offensive football team and then goes in and makes big plays on offense. His speed is excellent. I've talked to a lot of pro people, and they talked about if he was a wide receiver only, he'd be a top 3 pick. And when you look at Champ Bailey, you're maybe looking at the next Deion Sanders, Kurt.
Well, I don't know if he's the next Deion Sanders because I question his ability to play wide receiver. People comparing him and looking at a Deion Sanders. Think of the offensive skills. Chris and I saw him play against Tennessee. He got winded. He got tired early in that game, had to step out, and they tried to play him just primarily at the corner position. He is legitimate, one of the best cornerbacks in the draft. I like Chris McAllister, the long arms. He can play man-to-man as well as anybody. He fits in well with this system.
That's why I think it's tough to judge him as a defensive back. He did get very tired in that Tennessee game, ended up giving up a touchdown pass, but that's because he was on the field constantly. Obviously won't ask to do that in the NFL. Now, the comparisons with Charles Woodson, last year's Heisman Trophy winner, are obvious. You can see that Bailey had a much bigger impact on offense. Georgia, frankly, needed a big impact from him on offense. They were lacking in big plays when Bailey wasn't in there as a receiver. Defensively, some would say perhaps a different kind, less physical defensive back than Charles Woodson, but Champ Bailey headed to Washington with the number 7 pick. We'll continue our NFL draft coverage from New York and Bristol with the Cardinals on the clock.
Buy any Tacoma truck, and you can get packages of our most popular options discounted up to $2,400.
Joe and Phil both know an important call can come at any time. Because he's a courteous guy, Joe's turning his cell phone off. Phil's leaving his on, which isn't going to win him any popularity contests. But Joe has SkyTel, so even when he turns his cell phone off, a SkyTel operator converts the caller's message to text and sends it right to his pager. So while Joe is looking at the movie, Phil is looking for the exit. SkyTel puts you in control. Can your pager do that?
10 Grippy Jr., 9 straight gold gloves, 1 dazzling bat. Watch one of the best swings in the game spark a long ball battle in Anaheim. Mariners, Angels, the Sunday night game of the week. Tomorrow at 8 on ESPN.
On our team, we have Russians, Germans, Swedes, you name it, we got it. And we're all one big happy family. Привет, Шенни, иди покатайся в облаках. That means Shanahan is a good and great man. I love you too, my brother.
Back in New York, and last year at this draft, the Arizona Cardinals, the woe-begotten, the Arizona Cardinals, who hadn't seemingly made a good move since they became a state, had perhaps the best draft of any team in the league. One of the moves they made by swapping spots 2-3 with San Diego, allowing the Chargers to get Ryan Leaf. They moved down 1, picked Wadsworth at that spot. Then later on got Corey Chavis and Eric Metcalf and Patrick Sapp in that deal. But here's the last part of it. Number 1 pick of the Chargers in '99, which turned out to be the number 8 pick overall, meaning Arizona's one of 2 teams that has, or one of 3 teams that has 2 first-round picks, and so this is a real bonus for Arizona. So while they might have wanted Holt, they still have a player as we go to your board. Who might they be looking at?
I think the offensive tackle, the left tackle, John Tate. Critical because of Jake Plummer. He's your franchise quarterback. You have to keep him in one piece. John Tate would be key to that equation. He'll be 24 years of age, very mature young man coming out of a pro-style offense at BYU. I think you look at the other tackles, John Jansen, a right tackle. L.J. Shelton, very interesting because he's your dominant left tackle and had a heck of a year at Eastern Michigan, even as a junior, protected the blind side of Charlie Batch. Aaron Gibson, a right tackle, could move inside the guard as well. But I think for Arizona, they have another first-round pick where they can look at that wide receiver spot, the 3rd wide receiver spot, also helped out in the return game at that point. But I think John Tate, critical because he's an outstanding left tackle, the best left tackle in this draft, Chris.
Well, they lose Lomas Brown, and they want to give Jake Plummer help somehow. 3rd wide, as you mentioned, extra blocking. They were thinking about a back, but the backs were gone at this time. So we will debate what Arizona's going to do, because they'll be a very interesting player. A team that not only made the playoffs this year, but won their opening round playoff game against Dallas. Let's go around the league. We're about an hour and a half in. Start with Cleveland, where it all began. Sal Paolantonio.
In Cleveland, the Browns made Tim Couch, the Kentucky quarterback, the first pick of the draft. All night long, they negotiated with his agent, reached an agreement this morning, and they've got Couch now to be maybe a legend, just like Bernie Kosar was in Cleveland many years ago. Bernie, in the war room, looks very happy about the pick. Now let's go to Sean Salisbury.
Here in Indianapolis, the Colts have passed and pulled a shocker by not getting Ricky Williams. They go for Edgerrin James, the Miami Hurricane running back, who they say is magic. Now they've got to convince their fans of that, many who've called already, to voice their displeasure. Let's go to Andrea Kramer.
Here in Minnesota, it's new owner Red McComb's first draft, and head coach Denny Green is keeping him apprised of what they'll do with their 10 picks today, including 2 number 1s, 11 and 29. They lost 4 starters on defense, so they'll need to replenish depth. But keep in mind that the quarterback they like best is still on the board, Dante Culpepper. Now let's head to Ed Werder.
Here in New Orleans, Mike Ditka's talking about putting his hair in dreadlocks. He pulls off a huge trade, moves up to the 5th spot from the Redskins, and gets Ricky Williams, the Heisman Trophy winner. He says this is going to be a great match. We're going to give him the football. He's going to give us an identity. Let's go to Solomon Wilcott.
In Foxborough, after losing their featured running back for the 2nd straight year, the Patriots now find themselves back in the hunt for a primetime runner. With Ricky Williams and Edgerrin James off the board, the Patriots Brain Trust are now looking to fulfill their need for speed with 2 picks coming up later in the 1st round. Now let's send it out to Hank Goldberg.
In Miami, the Dolphins tried to trade up to get Edgerrin James, but holding only 5 picks in the draft, as Jimmy Johnson said, he was handcuffed. Why is Jimmy looking so glum? Normally at this time the phone's ringing off the hook for him, but no callers. Who wants to go to 24? The Dolphins might trade out of 24, figuring 3 or 4 backs they would be interested in would be there early in the 2nd round, and Cecil Collins could be one of them. Let's go to Tom Jackson in Denver.
Hank, here in Denver, the Broncos have 11 choices in the draft this year, which will allow them to move in any way Mike Shanahan wants. Certainly, if you look at the volume of picks, the Cleveland Browns have 4 of the first 62 picks in the draft. The Denver Broncos have 4 of the first 67. So whatever Mike Shanahan decides to do, the Denver Broncos will be a better, deeper football team. That's good news for the rest of the league. Let's go back to New York.
You know, I feel good now. I finally saw Tom Jackson. It took an hour and a half. Good to see Tommy. Now let's see what the Cardinals do with their first of 2 first-round picks.
With the 8th pick in this draft, the Arizona Cardinals select David Boston, wide receiver, Ohio State.
I had a feeling it was either John Tate, the local product from Mesa, you know, a suburb of Phoenix, or they can go later on in the 1st round where there's going to be more value at tackle, Mel, whereas Boston, if you want to look for one of the premier wide receivers, they would not get him later in the 1st round.
Very physical player, Chris. You're right. Here against Charles Woodson. This was back in 1997. Here again against Charles Woodson. Beats him on the deep route. Watch the concentration here on the football. Now you're looking at a big wide receiver, a very physical performer who certainly can shield that cornerback and then make something happen after the catch in the broken field. A little taunting there. Put that to rest in the NFL. Here, downfield blocking against Penn State. Here again, you'll see the physical presence of a big receiver with deep speed and good hands. If there's a question with David Boston, it's route running, precision there. Also in terms of concentration, not hands, but he has to concentrate on every pass that comes his way. Probably could have used another year at Ohio State to round off the game a bit, but in terms of a physical presence at wide receiver, he really provides that for an Arizona Cardinal team that needs that 3rd wide receiver behind Sanders and certainly behind Rob Moore. Although they still need, in my opinion, that left tackle to protect Jake Plummer's
Yeah, but they're going to get him later on in the 1st round, I think.
Well,
I mean,
you won't get a Tate or a Shelton, though.
No, but they know that. But they're going to get better value at tackle, I think, late in the 1st round than they're going to get at wide receiver. And they're all at it now. Ohio State, you still have this image of Woody Hayes 3 yards in a cloud of dust. But look at these guys, Ohio State receivers that we're going to put Boston up against. All he does is catch touchdowns. Chris Carter, he had better numbers than Krell, very similar. Joey Galloway, who, of course, is a star, still in the making in Seattle. And Terry Glenn with the New England Patriots. So these are their numbers. Ohio State and Boston had the best numbers there. How will that, translate into the pros? Well, let's look at the depth chart, Joe, of Arizona, who has Jake Plummer, a guy that can buy time and run around and look for extra time to spot receivers running second and third route.
Well, the good thing when you get a third wide receiver, which David Boston will be for them, is you don't have to run around an awful lot. Jake Plummer threw a lot of interceptions last year. Frank Sanders is there with 89 receptions. Rob Moore is the franchise player, Ronnie Anderson, Chad Carpenter, and Andy McCullough. Now, you've got some guys who can absolutely move down the field, but Jake Plummer is going to have to become a more disciplined pocket quarterback. Mark Trestman, when he was in San Francisco, was forced into a three-wide set, their offensive coordinator. That's when San Francisco really started to develop and open up the offense. Under Mark Trestman's guidance, Steve Young had his best career year in his entire National Football League career. Jake Plummer now is going to have an opportunity with three wide receivers to be able to move the ball down the field and exploit it. I would look for Arizona to be a much more productive, much more wide-open offense with the addition of David Boston.
Well, with Boston gone, teams like Baltimore at 10 and Pittsburgh at 13, they were hoping that he would fall that far. But to reprise the old David Loggins tune, please come to Boston in the springtime. Stay in here with some friends, and we got lots of room. There's room for him in Arizona with Jake Plummer at quarterback throwing to any of those three wideouts. Seems like 2 days ago this draft began with the Cleveland Browns drafting Tim Couch. But he's with our Mike Tirico with our other set. And Mike, you know what? I guess last night, a little sleepless for Tim. Probably worth the wait.
Yeah, as his deal was being negotiated, finally done at 3:30 in the morning, were they keeping you up to date, a little move by move, or did you just get the wake-up call with the good news?
I just got the wake-up call with the great news. I think Tom let me sleep on it, and I woke up about 9 o'clock this morning, and he gave me the great news.
Now that this is a reality, it's something you dream about, being the #1 pick.
Right.
Is the reality as good as the dream?
Oh, it's every bit as good. Being up there, hearing your name called, holding up the #1 jersey, shaking the commissioner's hand is truly a great honor, and just hope I can represent the class of '99 well.
A week ago, that second workout, when Chris Palmer and the Browns wanted to see a little bit more.
Right.
Compare the pressure of going into that to the pressure of the games that you played during the year in the big SEC games.
I was really, I was confident about the second workout. I put in a lot of hard work. I was prepared for it, and so I was pretty relaxed during the whole workout. I took it like a game, and I'm always relaxed for a game. So I went out and had a strong workout.
There'll be a lot of pressure. People are going to want to know, when are we going to see the #1 pick, the franchise guy of the future? When do you think you'd be ready to play? Talking to Peyton, who's been very close with you in this whole year process.
I'm not real sure. It's just according to how quick I can pick up the offense. I'm going to go in and give my best effort. I want to be in there. I want to be playing. But really, in the end, the decision come down to Coach Palmer to decide when I'm ready.
Thanks for waiting. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
He's got planes to catch with his boss, the owner. They're going back to Cleveland, and we're going back to Chris.
Oh, I'm going to take the ball. If I'm the secondary toss, I'm going to take it and make a first down, Mike, and I know Tim can complete the pass to me. Well, the Washington Redskins, congratulations once again to Tim Couch. We look forward to him playing in the NFL. So does everybody in the dog pound. But now, thanks to our Sprint video conferencing, let's bring in the general manager of the Washington Redskins, Charlie Casserly, who, Charlie, are you starring as Monty Hall today in Let's Make a Deal? You went up, down, all around, got some picks, and got your man. Was this all orchestrated, or was this one of the fastest half hours you've ever had?
Well, it was a semi-orchestrated, semi-fast half hour. We had talked in New Orleans for some time about the potential of doing this deal if Ricky Williams was there. This morning, when it appeared that it could happen, we firmed up a deal with New Orleans before the draft ever started. We then called Chicago and a number of other teams up ahead of us, but Chicago was the one we felt we could make a deal with. When we were on the clock, before we made the deal with New Orleans, we had the deal done with Chicago. So, in effect, we knew that we were going to be at 7, get a 1 next year, and get a player that we wanted. As it turned out, it was the same player we were taking at 5.
Charlie, it's Joe. When you draft Champ Bailey, do you now envision him as coming in and being one of your starting corners as a rookie like Darrell Green did for you a number of years ago back when I played?
Well, back when you played, Joe, by the way, you're right. The class of 71 is far better than the class of 83 or 99 or whatever we're in. So don't you take any crap from Kuiper or Boomer. You were right. As far as him starting, okay. As far as him starting, it's you're right. It's going to be the coach's decision on what to do with him. But obviously, when you take a player this high, you envision him playing quickly in your program.
would you entertain at all, with Champ Bailey's ability to play both sides of the ball, would you entertain at all the fact that he might play some offense this year?
Well, I think, Norv and I have talked about that, and the feeling here is this, is get him in one position, get him good at one position, make him learn one position. One of the things in college, which is an advantage, I think, for him coming into the pros, is he played both positions, but yet he never concentrated on one, so he has a lot of potential to get better at the corner position. So our feeling is put him at corner, keep him at corner, and that's where he's going to play right now.
Charlie, this is Chris again. You and Norv and everybody on the Redskins staff are under a very interesting cloud, if you will say, right now. Can you put into words what you have been going through, what you think you will be going through, and I mean, do you have any feel for, after this year, or once new ownership is in place, how long you might stay? And in the meantime, doing deals like this, can you put all this into words?
I'll tell you what, we could do a mini-series on what's happened in the last few weeks, okay? But it's hard, Chris. I think when you look at what we did today, I think what it does, it says a lot for everybody involved. It says John Cook, Norv Turner, all of us. We made a deal where we added a #1 pick to this franchise, and we did what was best for the franchise, and none of us might be here next year. And all through this, we've thought of one thing: what's best for the franchise? And you're right. When we went to the March meeting, frankly, I had no idea whether I'd be sitting here talking to you today. I obviously have no idea if I'll be sitting here talking to you next year. I know you're going to be where you are next year, but whether we're here or not, we don't know that.
Well, thank you for talking to my boss about that, Charlie, and ensuring that. And you make moves like this, I think you should be there for a long time. Congratulations on what's doing right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Charlie Casserly, business as usual. That's what he had to do. Culpepper, McNown, McAllister, names we shall be hearing very quickly.
You know how to put money into your IRA, but do you know how to take it out? When you're 45, 60, even when you're 80? Without the right strategies, thousands, even tens of thousands of your retirement dollars could end up going to the government. That's why Solomon Smith Barney created this retirement distribution kit. It's yours free when you call 1-800-EARNS-IT, extension 5600. In it, you'll find the best ways to take money out of your IRA at any age, with a minimum of taxes and penalties. You'll learn the differences between Roth and traditional IRAs, and find ways to keep more of your other retirement dollars too, like special tax treatments for some of the investments in your 401k. Whether you're 2 years or 2 decades from retirement, you need strategies for keeping more of your money, and you need them today. Protect your retirement, starting now. Call 1-800-EARNS-IT, extension 5600. Let's get to work. Solomon Smith Barney.
Would you like to win a trip to the Brickyard 400 and drive the race parade car home? Here's how. Just follow Steve Park and enter the ESPN Drive at Home Sweepstakes, presented by Pennzoil. Watch the Goodies Body Paint 500 on ESPN. Note the Pennzoil car's starting and finishing position. Then, call 1-800-581-3600 or stop by a participating Pennzoil Lube Center and fill out an entry form. You could win a trip to the Brickyard 400 and take home the race parade car or other great prizes.
Well, a lot of fans in Detroit have been cursing the fate of the Detroit Lions, but this may be a different sort of curse. Let's go up to the commissioner and see if that is indeed their pick.
With the 9th pick in this draft, the Detroit Lions select Chris Claiborne, linebacker, USC.
Well, that makes sense, too. That makes sense, too, Mel.
Well, I'll tell you what, Chris, I look at Chris Claiborne, talking about value at this point.
Yep.
I mean, he's the best linebacker on the board. Yep. I think when you look at, say, middle linebacker at USC, the last 3 years, that's true. But he has the athleticism and the overall physical ability to play an outside linebacker spot as well. Here, the pursuit ability, hits hard, delivers quite a jolt on impact when he arrives on the scene. You watch him here. Take on that guard in the hole, stuff that inside running game lane, and here again, delivers quite a shot. You watch him here. Get through traffic, stay on his feet, and take down Travis Minor. Watch him here coming up against Arizona State. Ryan Keeley delivers the blow. Sends Keeley to the sidelines. You're talking about a multi-dimensional linebacker in the lane again. Inside running lane ability. Here, the INT all the way for the touchdown. Again, in pass coverage against Oregon State. The INT all the way for a touchdown once again. You're looking at a kid who intercepted 6 passes this past year. Will be able to move outside fairly easily. And I think at this point in the draft, the Detroit Lions have to be fairly surprised that an athlete that was rated so high all year, like a Chris Claiborne, is still on the board.
Yeah, I mean, when you say 6 interceptions as an inside linebacker, not an outside linebacker normally in coverage. And, you know, you look at USC linebackers that wore number 55. Junior Seau was great. Willie McGinnis had a great college career. Well, certainly, Chris Claiborne did nothing to disgrace that number. In fact, by pure numbers, he added to it, except in the sack total. But 8 INTs total as a 3-year player at USC. And, Joe, you know, we said Curse. I was trying to be cute with Javon Curse, but this is a guy that probably grades out a little higher than Curse because Curse is a tweener guy.
Well, we talked about Ricky Williams being the best player in the draft, probably, as we felt, the best running back. Claiborne certainly is up there as the best linebacker. You have to remember, Detroit ran short on the field with defensive people last year. They needed that side of the ball. They just signed Stephen Boyd to a new contract to play the middle. I would see Claiborne probably playing outside. He will be able to give you some pass rushing ability. Larry Peccatello likes to bring people. He likes to put pressure on the quarterback, their defensive coordinator. I think this gives Larry a little bit more flexibility in what he wants to do on the defensive side of the ball. They probably will be able to pick up a defensive end or defensive tackle down the road a little bit, so they'll be able to get what they want as the draft moves on. But this is a good pick for them now.
Well, let's go quickly to Cleveland because now Baltimore, Minnesota, Chicago are on the clock. And let us just say that all 3 of those spots are potential homes for the 2 next quarterbacks, Culpepper and McNown. But, Sal, let's go to you with Cleveland. What's brewing?
Well, what's brewing in Baltimore with the Baltimore Ravens, I talked to the Director of Football Operations, Ozzie Newsome, a few minutes ago, and he said his phone has been ringing off the hook. He went down the list: Denver, Miami, Tennessee, Dallas, all trying to jump up to number 10. Apparently, Anthony McFarland is in the sights of Mike Shanahan in Denver, so we'll keep an eye. He said he'd like to stay at number 10, and, you know, Javon Curse is still there, the Florida linebacker, but they are really strong at linebacker. Chris McAllister is one that's very intriguing, the cornerback out of Arizona. Ozzie Newsome likes him very much. Now let's go to Chris Mortensen in New York.
Yes, I think that the Ravens and Ozzie Newsome and Brian Billick even are doing cartwheels that Chris McAllister is here. I know that they had some discussions with Detroit even about swapping, but the drama there was Minnesota calling Detroit and the Lions refusing the trade with inside their division. That would have been for McAllister, so Baltimore really happy that he's here there. And then, of course, now McAllister goes, and we are looking at this Dante Culpepper scenario and Cade McNown, Chris Berman, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. But I know this much, Baltimore very happy McAllister is there.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Mort. And Mel, I mean, for pure value, McAllister, we said Champ Bailey was kind of like a Deion Sanders. Some say Chris McAllister is like a Ronnie Lott in the way he's going to play. But, you know, you also have the quarterback question. Baltimore has Scott Mitchell and maybe soon to be signed Tony Banks, the quarterback. Should they look at a young quarterback with an offensive coach like Billick, or should they go best available?
Let's see what the value is in terms of the draft board, Chris. I think when you look at that, you will see Chris McAllister highly rated on the draft board. The number 1 player right now available on the draft board, according to my ratings, John Tate. You see the other players available. Anthony McFarland, the teams are looking to move up for, but the quarterbacks are down the line a bit. I know they're thinking, hey, quarterback of the future, Dante Culpepper, but they did not feel that McAllister would still be there at that point. So he would become a nice pick at that point. You see the offensive tackles, center guard Damian Woody, and, of course, Andy Katzenmoyer, the big cat. But in Baltimore, you have Dwayne Starks. They drafted him 10th overall last year, a smallish corner. Rod Woodson on the other side, a veteran. They want to move him inside and safety, so they will have a hole at corner. McAllister, 6'1", 206, opposite Starks. Now you have your bookend corners. Woodson moves inside. They hope Kim Herring can stay healthy. All of a sudden, that secondary is 100% improved.
Baltimore, Minnesota, Chicago are the next 3 teams on the clock. And the Ravens, the card in, is that what we understand? Well, the quarterback situation, Joe, is something. I mean, Brian Billick, offensive guru, new head coach. Should he look QB here for the future?
I don't think he has to look QB. If he wants to look QB, you're going to get a guy who's gone through the mill in Tony Banks, who he's entertained the last week or so. You've got Eric Zier, who's talked about being traded, Wally Richardson, Kendrick Nord. You know, the guys you don't know, really. Scott Mitchell, who is sort of recycled and looking for an opportunity to play again, and probably will be given the chance to start there. If they do sign a Tony Banks, You get this guy who has really struggled in St. Louis only because he's been through a lot of coordinators, a lot of offensive changes. I think you don't need to go shop for a quarterback here. I think cornerbacks are just as valuable at this spot.
Let's go up to the podium now and join the commissioner so he can quote the Ravens.
With the 10th pick in the draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Chris McAllister, defensive back, Arizona.
Hard hitter, Mel.
And what? He just glides, Chris. He's so effortless in his motion, and he's 6'1", 206 pounds. Watch him here. The way he breaks up the play, closes on the football again. Effortless in his glide, senses what's going on, and has that burst and that anticipation in coverage. Here on the deep play, interception on the deep ball against Nebraska. Here, a kick return. This is in the season opener on ESPN against Hawaii. And he's going to take it all the way. Opening kickoff, he goes 100 yards. Here's a punt returner. Again, showing his athleticism. Look at this kid. He's 6'1", 206 with tremendous speed. Another anticipation, interception, reacts to the football, and makes the big play. Great players make the great plays. Chris McAllister had all those interceptions. 6 as a junior, 5 as a senior, 2 more in the Holiday Bowl against Nebraska. And I think that's the difference in McAllister. 2 years at Arizona, but he made the most of every opportunity.
Yeah, you brought up the depth chart. When you take a look at where they are in the secondary, when I talked to Brian Bellick, he said, you know, if we can get a marquee corner, our linebackers are a good, quick bunch, probably one of the best in football. Now, all of a sudden, you stabilize that backfield. The key here is Rod Woodson. You get a guy like McAllister who's big like Woodson. Woodson can teach him, like a big corner, how to play out there. Starks on the other side. Stephon Moore, Kim Herring. You've got yourself a really solid secondary. Sure, Brian Billick is an offensive coach and would like to have gotten probably a wide receiver. But what's the next best thing? Stopping people from being able to move the football is a great way to beat people in the National Football League. The addition here, I think, is a big plus for the Ravens.
Ravens are an interesting team in that they were 6-10, but they had 5 Pro Bowlers last year. So is this a team that now is ready to make a little bit of leap in a division where, frankly, you can move around a little bit with an expansion team in the division? We shall see if this draft pick of McAllister helps them along the way. Mike Tirico, your observation.
Chris, there's some off-the-field issues with McAllister, one that was resolved in some ways on Friday. The background in August of '98, about 9 months ago, he was charged with petty theft, fined $405, and given 3 years probation and 10 hours community service. What happened was the payment of the fine did not come forth. So at that point, a bench warrant was issued, but on this past Friday in an L.A. court, his attorney paid the outstanding fine. McAllister was sentenced to serve 10 days in the city jail, appear before the court on June 15th to show proof of the time served, and the probation was reinstated. So essentially, once the fine was paid, they have him back to the initial situation where there is some probation that he has to deal with. In seeing him play personally, talking with his coach, Dick Tomey, who relates him to Darrell Lewis, a former Thorpe Award winner, best defensive back in the country. McAllister is a guy who Dick Tomey had a lot of positive things to say about, admitted a mistake, as many people do in these situations. And as far as the Arizona folks were concerned, Chris McAllister's balance of the '98 season was very positive, very forward, and they see this as a blip and not a significant trend of something that's wrong with Chris McAllister, as you mentioned, a very talented player who played against good passing offenses in the Pac-10 pool.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. By the way, first time since 1983 that we have not had any defensive lineman go in the top 10. Now, Minnesota, who had the most interesting draft on 1 pick last year with Randy Moss. Now, could they be talking to Dante Culpepper right now as the heir apparent to Randall Cunningham, even though Jeff George is there? You know Denny Green covets his athletic ability. Let's go to Minnesota and join Andrea Kramer. Good afternoon, Andrea.
Good afternoon, Chris. Yes, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say they are talking to Dante Culpepper, the quarterback from Central Florida. They also are very happy to see Javon Kirsch there, but Denny Green made it very clear that with a 15-1 team, you don't have to have someone to come in and start, but also the Vikings draft philosophy is you don't go for need with the first pick. The Vikings had Culpepper rated as the best quarterback in the league. They were not the only team to do so. The Bucs, for example, also had Culpepper rated very highly. Remember, the Vikings have a 36-year-old Randall Cunningham, a recently signed Jeff George, but is just to a 1-year contract. When I asked Denny Green what he liked about Dante Culpepper, he pointed to his size, but he said, this is one of the all-time nice, focused athletes. He's been through the fire. He's gone through a lot, having been raised in a foster home. He's a great athlete, the best athlete out there. He's got vision. I think that Dante Culpepper would be the perfect fit to sit and learn in the Minnesota Vikings' tremendous offensive system. Chris, let's head back to you in New York.
All right, Andrea Kramer, thank you very much. If indeed it's going to be Dante Culpepper, it would be the first time the Vikings have used a first-round pick on a quarterback since Tommy Kramer in 1977. You see, we send our reporters to places for reasons that you're not even aware of at home. Kramer versus Kramer. Here's the depth chart with Jeff George, a great backup. So if Culpepper comes in, there is no pressure on him at all.
Well, I think this is a fabulous place, first of all, for Jeff George to be able to go in and back up. I think Randall Cunningham can repeat in the year that he's had. But why should we have the suspense? Why should we wait anymore? Let's just go to the commissioner and see who Minnesota really decided they wanted to take.
Good segue, Joe. You're learning in this role.
I'm trying. I have a great teacher.
Who's that?
With the 11th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Dante Culpepper, quarterback, University of Central Florida.
You know who's as excited as Dante is right now? Mike Krusek, who played in the National Football League, was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, played with them in Washington, D.C. He was his head coach at Central Florida for the last couple of years and has really worked hard on giving this man an opportunity to be able to hone his skills to be able to play.
And you know what, Mel, as we look at highlights, loyalty. By the time he was ready to come out, he had committed to Central Florida. Bigger schools were looking at him. He was loyal and stayed in a program that theoretically could have hurt him in the pros. It obviously didn't.
And we talked about Donovan McNabb, how important to go back for a senior year. Very important that Dante Culpepper went back to Central Florida. Strong arm, touch on the deep ball as well. So not just a thrower, he's also a pitcher. And I think when you look at the accuracy, he played a high percentage of his passes, didn't have tremendous wideouts to throw to, certainly played against some top teams. Sees the field fairly well, but his vision on the move is something he needs to work on in the National Football League. Here, though, 6'4", 255, easily shrugs off Jesse Tarplin and makes the play. That's something most quarterbacks are not able to do. Here, the scramble for the touchdown against Nebraska. Fullback-type speed, but halfback-type quickness when he starts to move around. I think the difference between Culpepper and McNabb, where McNabb had that great vision to pick out those third and fourth receivers on the move, that's something Dante Culpepper needs to work on. But in Minnesota, Joe, he'll have an opportunity to do so behind Cunningham and behind George.
But the one thing that impressed me, and these are things that people don't necessarily know about this young man, he came out of high school at 242 pounds. He played at 255 in college. That means over the 4-year period, he was disciplined enough to keep his weight down and understand what his responsibility and job would be if he had a chance to play at the next level. I think that's an indication of the type of man that Minnesota's getting.
And you know what was in place? I mean, when they took Randy Moss last year, there was Chris Carter to be a mentor, and he certainly was. Well, here's Randall Cunningham to be a mentor, if you will, for Dante Culpepper when he goes up and plays under Denny Green. An intriguing choice. We've had 4 quarterbacks go in 11. Cade McNown is soon to follow on a historic day here at the 64th NFL Draft. Now, for more on our... Well, no, we're going to stay right here. Culpepper's career numbers, 4-year starter, over 11,000 yards passing, 84 touchdown passes. But you know what's impressive? 402 passes last year, and here they are. 402 passes last year, only 7 intercepted. I mean, that, Joe, is pretty impressive. I don't care what level you're playing at. 7 picks and over 400 attempts.
And you look at the numbers of Nussmeier and McNair and the different people. I mean, the rushing yards, I don't think they're as high, which is good. To be honest with you, you're not going to win a lot of football games as a quarterback in the National Football League having to run for as many yards as, say, Steve McNair did. You can't run for 560 yards and take your team to the next level. Steve McNair will use his arm more and have to. Tennessee's going to want to advance. Now, we're moving right along so quickly. Everybody's making deals. Let's go to the commissioner one more time, and let's see who the next pick is going to be.
You are getting good. And we got a rare view of Doug Nussmeier from Idaho. It's good to get his picture up.
Quickly.
Is this going to be your number one?
Well, hey, this could be the end of the quarterbacks. I mean, look at this. Here could be the next one.
This is the guy that I thought, everything considered, is technically the most sound of all the quarterbacks coming out of this draft. This could and well be Cade McNown.
With the 12th pick in the draft, Chicago Bears select Cade McNown, quarterback, UCLA.
See, now the Bears gambled. He wasn't necessarily going to be there at 12 if Baltimore had made a move. But they gambled a little bit in their trade with Washington, and they won as well. The Skins gambled and ended up with Champ Bailey. and now the Bears have gotten extra picks, and they end up with Cade McNown.
Both teams gambled. Washington gambled, Chicago gambled. They both got the players they wanted. It worked out perfectly. Mike Ditka's on the golf course. Everybody's having a great Saturday.
You're not
so
implying
far.
he's gambling on the golf course?
Absolutely not. He's just out having a good time on the golf course. I like the ability of Cade McNown, not just to be able to run the football, but he sees the field well. I compare him to Jake Plummer. He's a playmaker. He has the ability to move around the field. Everybody questions his arm strength. There you see him throw the ball down the field. I don't question his arm strength at all. It isn't how far you have to throw the ball. It's how accurately and how quickly you can get it there. There he shows his versatility as a receiver. Again, steps up in the pocket and lets it fly. I like everything about Cade McNown.
I think dealing with the weather conditions in Chicago. We talked about his arm strength. You say it's more than satisfactory. I say it's slightly above average, so we differ there.
I think it's overrated. I think dealing with weather conditions is overrated.
Chicago and dealing with the weather and the wind will not be a factor with Cade McNown.
I think he'll be fine. I don't think the weather, the wind, the weather in Soldiers Field or wherever they're going to play, whatever they want to call it, is not going to be a factor.
Well, I'm not surprised, Joe, since you said you would have taken him #1.
That's right.
A lefty.
That's okay, too.
A port sider in the Windy City. And because they don't know if Eric Kramer, how long he's going to be healthy.
Bobby Douglas.
Well,
one of the great lefties in Chicago.
He throws a little more touch than Bobby Douglas. I don't know if he can run. If he runs close to Bobby, he'd be great. But if he can throw it a little more touch than Bobby Douglas. Let's go up with guys who always had touch when they threw. Mark Malone and Ron Jaworski. Fellas?
Well, Boomer, thank you very much. This is a very interesting choice. Everybody talked about Cade McNown's size, certainly another 2 inches taller. He might have been the first pick overall. The thing that you like a lot about him, Ron, is the fact that this guy is not only a good reader, but he's smart, can change the play. Might be the most polished quarterback out there with the exception of Tim Couch.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. He is the best prepared to step in and play in the National Football League. He can read coverage. He can read the defense. He knows what he's doing. What he lacks in arm strength, he makes up for in accuracy. As we take a look at him here under center, you'll see him read the man-to-man coverage, which means, hey, he's got an opportunity for a big play. He looks and sees the linebacker and the safety cheating up. That's an indicator of blitz. He has a play called where the wide receiver will come in motion. But he's very astute in reading the coverage. Now the receiver comes in motion. Right here, he stops him. Oh, we got an opportunity for 6. Well, he sends him back out because he knows he has the man coverage. You don't see many quarterbacks in the NFL doing this. Now the receiver resets himself. Now he's got the opportunity for the big play. He validates his read on the drop. He reads that safety, keying on the tight end. He now knows the tight end is doubled. He has his wide receivers man-to-man. Nice balance, nice poise in the pocket, and the delivery to the exact right spot. You'll see right here in the box, inside the receiver going to the sideline. That's where the ball has to be thrown. Outstanding touch. As we look at it here, down the chimney, that ball drops right to him, right where it should be, right at the sideline. He runs out of bounds. This is a quarterback that has all the tools. I've seen him read the corner cat. I've seen him read the blitz. He can make an immediate impact in the National Football League, Mark.
No less productive, but certainly a different kind of quarterback. Dante Culpepper, who goes to Minnesota. This guy's big and strong. We know about his size and his arm strength, but he's got touch as well.
Well, Mike Kruzak, who Joe mentioned a little bit earlier, is his coach, and he came out of the pro system in Pittsburgh, and he trained Dante very well. And he fits into the right system in Minnesota with the big arm, the deep ball. But you'll see him here reading the defense. The area Central Florida wants to attack here is the middle of the field against the double zone coverage. Dante gets the snap from center. He reads the coverage. And once he sees that middle of the field open by those two safeties dividing, he knows he has an area of the field to attack. The design of the play is set up to be successful. Here he makes the play fake, and actually the play fake is made to hold the linebacker, but it draws a safety, and it sucks him right up to even widen the hole in the middle of the field. Now you see the division of the two safeties highlighted here. You see the green grass in the middle of the field. That's where he wants to go, to the wide receiver. You'll see great balance in the pocket, great focus downfield. Excellent vision of reading where he wants to throw the football. And this is what I think is key. In the pro game, you're going to have to make these firm throws. Not the big arm zip throws, but the firm throw over the linebacker between the safeties. Dante Culpepper has all the tools to be an outstanding quarterback in the NFL. And the nice thing is, he's not going to be rushed in and have to play immediately.
Of course, probably the two biggest things that are different about these two quarterbacks is Cade might have to play very quickly in Chicago. Of course, Dante Culpepper is going to get a chance to sit behind a Randall Cunningham and a Jeff George. And for more on that, let's go out to Minnesota, where Andy Kramer is standing by with the head coach, Dennis Green.
Thank you very much, Mark. Well, Denny Green didn't need a wide receiver last year, took Randy Moss, didn't need a quarterback this year, but he was the best guy out there. What did you like about Dante Culpepper?
We really liked everything about him. We clearly had him rated as the #1 quarterback of the top 5 guys, and all of them are really talented quarterbacks. But he brings, I think, the most upside. I think he'll also have the most patience to understand exactly what it's going to take to develop into a player. Too often, I think quarterbacks think they're ready now. None of them are ready now. They really aren't.
What sort of timetable might you have for him?
Well, I think, first off, he just wants to develop into a pro player. I think he brings that whole intensity that you really want. But we have Randall Cunningham coming off a great year. And I think the thing we have to understand is that Super Bowl championship teams rarely have that need pick in the first round, and we didn't either.
You have a lot of mentoring that goes on with this team. I mentioned Chris Carter and Randy Moss. Who can mentor Dante Culpepper? Will it be Randall Cunningham?
Oh, absolutely. I think they have a lot of the same qualities. The biggest thing, though, I think this is the 1999 version of Randall Cunningham in that he's much more physical. He's actually maybe a little bit faster, but we think he's got a huge upside. I think he brings a lot to our team. The thing we know this, you don't go out and play in the National Football League with just one quarterback. That's why we got Jeff George. We got into a really good one-year contract, and we think Jeff can really help us to try to win a championship. But it also, you don't pass a great player on the board just because of need. And I think we felt that way. Frank Gilliam, the rest of our coaching staff and scouts felt that way right from the start.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Certainly no concern the lack of small school competition for Dante Culpepper. Mark Malone, let's head back to you.
Andrea, thank you very much. They finally might have that quarterback that can outthrow Randy Moss. The Steelers are on the clock. We'll be back in a moment with our NFL draft update as ESPN's coverage of the 1999 NFL draft continues after this.
Get your hands up! Get your hands up! Go, 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 go! Thank you, Detroit! We love you!
Detroit was last night.
Want to get away? Now you can. Fly Southwest Airlines coast to coast for $99 or less when you purchase tickets by April 27th.
You are now free to move about the country.
You know what I call this?
Dancing.
No, it's the collect call 1-800-CALL-ATT. Just dial right down the center of the phone. CALLATT for guaranteed cheap collect calls. Dial 1-800-CALL-ATT.
Let's see, what's your favorite day? It's Friday, and these are Friday's Chop House platters. Thick, juicy Chicago-style cuts of all your favorites still sizzling from the grill.
I love Chicago.
The Chop House platters at Fridays.
That was good.
Do you know how to drive? How to say, hey, that's a foul in Japanese? Do you know where in the heavens to find a human voice? Where in your soul to find character? Do you know the shortest distance to a college degree is a straight line called discipline? Do you know how to walk it? Be all you can be.
The Acura Integra, equipped with a race-proven 16-valve twin-cam engine. So it can take you just about anywhere. Quickly. The 1999 Integra from Acura.
About 2 hours into day one of the NFL draft, quarterbacks have been the story as expected. They go 1, 2, 3 for the first time since Plunkett, Manning, and Pastorini were taken in 71, with Culpepper and McNown going 11 and 12, 5 quarterbacks taken in the top dozen picks. The surprise so far, the Saints trade with the Redskins, a total of 7 picks to Washington, which the Redskins then dealt back part of them to the Bears to get Champ Bailey. So the Saints could take Ricky Williams, giving Mike Ditka some free time today, but also having a monster impact on his football team.
You got a great running back. You give him the ball. It makes your offense better. It makes your passing game better, hopefully. And it makes your defense better because they're not on the field as much. And if they want to put 8 or 9 men up front to stop them, we'll find a way to combat that because we think we can. And he's also a pretty good receiver now when you take him out of the backfield. But I don't think that's what you want to do with him too much.
Well, you have no more picks now. You look like you're dressed for an evening out. What will you do with the rest of the day?
Gone golfing.
You know, he can golf on day one of the draft next year because he doesn't have that first or third round pick. Kirk Herbstreit and Mike Godfrey join me. The running back question, I think the most controversial of round one so far. We've both seen Edgerrin James and also Ricky Williams plenty of times. Surprising, they take a guy in Edgerrin James who really made himself a monstrous pile of money the last couple of games of this football season against UCLA, a very bad defense, and against NC State in Miami's bowl game. They take him over the most productive running back in college football history.
Chris, Edgerrin James is a young back. The more he carries, the better he gets. But he's a great blocker. He'll be able to protect Peyton Manning. On the other side, Ricky Williams, I think he's the best player in this draft. He carried a football team, an average football team, to the Cotton Bowl on his shoulders. You know, the knock on him is he has small hands, 7 3/4 hands. But he only fumbled one time in the final 10 minutes of the fourth quarter in any football game. Mack Brown had him carry 37 times against Nebraska. He's a great back.
I think if you look at, everybody's talked about Ricky Williams and the fact he has the rare combination of the power and speed. I think the thing that separates him is his stamina. He's just as strong in the fourth quarter as he is at the beginning of the game. And a lot of talk about his weight. He wasn't prepared when he showed up at the combine. Put that to rest. His competitive spirit, by the time he shows up to play football for the Saints, will have him ready.
Edgerrin James, very emotional player. If he plays with emotion, he's a great player. Can he do it over a 16-game season in the NFL? That's going to be the challenge for Edgerrin James. Let's go back to New York now and Chris Berman. Boom.
All right, guys, thank you. Pittsburgh is up, and if I'm them, and I'll explain why, and I don't know that it's the back, I'm going to try the Troy Edwards receiver, even though he's not Pittsburgh-type size. I think they should go receiver to help Cordell. Let's go to the commissioner.
With the 13th pick in this draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Troy Edwards, wide receiver from Louisiana Tech.
Now, Mel, let me, well, go ahead. Talk about him, even though he's short but not small. Elaborate on that.
That 5'9.5", 191, but strong. Compact, I guess would be the word, Chris. Here against Nebraska early in the year, 21 receptions. You're going to watch the ability after the catch. On all the receptions you see, you will see Troy Edwards making damage, doing a lot of damage in the open field, making people miss. He was a former prep running back and cornerback. Here, it's basically a run-and-shoot type attack. Takes the reception. You see the open field running ability here. And as well on the deep ball. I think when you see him adjust, Joe, and you'll see that coming up, I think that's something he can do as well. So he can run after the catch. He's tough. He has a passion for the game. This is a Nebraska game as well. So not just short passes. Beat the cornerback on the deep route. Take it to the end zone. I think when you look at Troy Edwards, the key is getting off the line of scrimmage, and he will be okay. He's quick, he's compact, he's tough, and you have to love his enthusiasm for the game. Troy Edwards down in Mobile for Senior Bowl week, and he caught the attention of everybody with the way he worked, the way he hustled, and the passion for the game he brings to the table, Joe.
I think need is really what you have to talk about here. You have to say, what have the Pittsburgh Steelers lost over the last 3 years at the wide receiver position? Andre Hastings went to New Orleans in '97, Ernie Mills to Carolina in '97, and Yancey Thigpen in '98. Charles Johnson this year goes on and joins Torrance Small in Philadelphia. So what's happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've done a fabulous job of being able to win football games with constant depletion, both on the defensive side and at the wide receiver position. Certainly Edwards is a good choice for him. It also gives a young man to work with Cordell Stewart, who's going to continue to try and improve his game under Kevin Gilbride, who's the now offensive coordinator there in Pittsburgh.
You look at 50 touchdowns, 280 catches for this young man. Plus, there's something else that Bill Cowher has never had in his run there, which is why I like this pick. A return man. He's never had a real bona fide return man. And in Troy Edwards, you get a guy that averages 20 yards a kickoff return, 16 yards a punt return, has touchdowns in both regards. That's a big addition to a Steeler team that is used to, as you pointed out, Joe, losing wide receivers to create. Plus, confidence of Cordell Stewart. Build it up again. We'll be back.